Greetings and welcome to the Great Game Debates Gaiden Podcast, Episode 1. Thanks for joining us. My name is Wes Bates. I'll be the host for this little shindig. Joining me today are the best co-conspirators for a podcast that any guy could have. We have Hunter Pearson. Hunter, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. This is so exciting. I think this is going to be so much fun. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we're going to have a great time. We also have Brad Russell.
Hey, Wes. How you doing? Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without you. And last but not least, we have Mr. Clean Shaven, Zach Pearson.
Trimmed.
Well, as clean shaven as you're going to see me in a while. Excited to be here and be a millennial menace. Let's get this going.
Millennial menace.
Yeah, he's like the baby. Still a dad. Qualify. We're all dads.
Yeah, so we have 4 gamer dads here leading this thing. But please, before you turn off the podcast, give us a chance. I promise we have a great show for you. We are going to be talking about loads of ninjas. We've got retro style survival horror. We've got all sorts of weird news bites for you. And we're even going to be looking into the future to predict some game scores later. But before we jump into that, I'd like to get to know this crew just a little bit. So I'm going to jump to Zach. Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your gaming history, and what have you been playing lately?
Well, came into the gaming world in the height of the best RPGs that ever came around from the PS1, Super Nintendo, and like N64. So started with that. Got into a bunch of shooters in the early 2000s because, I mean, as a teenager, what else am I going to start doing but shooting things up, apparently? And then as I got into, after that, I got into just getting more into some good stories and a lot of good indie games that I had kind of put to the wayside. Just try to get a good breadth of a little bit of everything.
Right on. So, like, what are some of your favorite games? Can you list some for us off the top of your head people get an idea of your tastes and interests?
I'm really basic. Final Fantasy VII is going to be right up there at the top. I don't care whether you're talking original or we're talking remake. Both of them are top tier in my mind. Destiny took over probably 1,200 hours of my life over a couple of years.
Oh my god.
I was there.
What is wrong with you?
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
I like a good shooter and I like a good looter, and it just all came together with that one game. I like doing a lot of competitive things. I enjoy playing Valorant at the moment. I'm also making my way back through Persona 5 because I've been inspired by the other two guys here with me, Brad and Hunter, because they have been playing through Persona 4 for Hunter.
Golden. I don't know if there's a difference. I just wanted to add that in case there was one.
Special version.
Nice.
A little bit.
So let me ask you, just shifting back to Destiny, are you an avid Destiny 2 player at this point, or are you
I was
out of it?
I was for a long time, and then just the people that I was playing with all kind of fell off. And it's a very social game. If you don't have people to go do things with, it's not nearly as fun. So it has kind of gotten pushed to the back for me. I still will go pull it up every once in a while because Bungie knows how to make good shooters. The guns in those games feel fantastic.
That's very true. It's very true. So you mentioned Persona before. I'm going to kick it over to the master of mementos himself, Brad Russell.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Wes.
Brad, can you give us a little bit of your gaming background and what you've been filling your time with?
Sure. I think I'm an 80s kid like the three of us here. So, I started with the arcade games and platformers, Super Mario Brothers, Mega Man, NES. You get up to 1989 when Dragon Quest got his hooks in me. And it was pretty much over from there. Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Persona, the classic Square is my upbringing. I really have stuck with the retro thing quite a bit. I probably play maybe 3 or 4 new games a year. I'm a hardware collector. I love old JRPGs. I love, I love pixels, and I love chip tunes, and that's my deal.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed kind of the intro music to this podcast, you might be interested to know that Brad mixed that whole thing. So he's
had a good time doing it too.
It's quite a Beethoven over here.
Yeah, God, that intro's so good.
I had fun making it.
Brad's very humble because he says he doesn't play that many new games, but when he goes in hardcore. Brad, can you share with everybody, like, how many hours do you have in Tears of the Kingdom?
I just finished it up last weekend. I spent a good 250 hours fooling around, and then spent 15 hours finishing the game. So I guess I've got about 265 into that.
Just a paltry 265 hours.
Yeah, when something gets its hooks in me, it's hard for me to step away. And Zelda's just been absolutely wonderful. It's gorgeous. It's, once you get the Nintendo buttons wired back into your brain, it controls really well. And it's just really fun and really peaceful to just kind of soar over giant stretches of land. And I find it's like, in the same way Death Stranding is kind of a meditative game. So that's taken a lot of the stress out of my life. So that's why I spent so long in Hyrule.
Less stress. I know that I do. That's why I'm playing Blasphemous right now. I need less stress in my life. All right. Last but not least, we have Hunter Pearson. Hunter, kicking it to you. Can you give us some of the same kind of info? Tell us about yourself and your gaming tastes.
Not that probably most people know this, but since he neglected to mention it, I'm Zach's older brother, in case you're wondering if there's a resemblance there. I don't know if there's a resemblance there anymore.
If I shave the beard, you see it, but...
I'm like considerably older than Zach by double digits. I have actually wiped his ass before, so just to give you the idea of the range of dates we have, but we share a lot of video game interests.
You learn something new every day, and that's something I didn't need to learn.
Well, now you know. Just imagine me.
No, I don't. I don't need to
imagine his legs. Okay.
Video games.
Right.
Let's
sorry.
talk about video games. Not wiping
All
butts.
Right. Sorry
Please.
about that. But yeah, we definitely grew. Once he grew up, we shared this interest together and have become really close and basically feel like the same age now with being dads and stuff. But yeah, brother to Zach. I guess the things I would say about myself, I do occasionally some graphic design and art. I really like to play Bloodborne a lot. I have the opposite problem.
Who doesn't?
I think that it sounds like Brad has with actually just diving full force into games. I don't finish any games really. It's a disease. I cannot finish most things I play, even if it's like the best thing I've ever played. For some reason, I fall off of it. Except for Bloodborne, which I think I've finished like 60, 70 times. And the Last of Us games, I finished this.
I was just going to say, I don't think you give yourself enough credit because you went through all of the Last of Us Part 2 on Grounded
4 times.
mode.
Yeah, I've actually played through Last of Us Part 2 on Grounded and 1 on Grounded at least 3 times each. I don't know what it is about those games. I just really, really love them.
Masochist.
And I'm currently playing Remnant 2 and really enjoying that, and a little bit of Jedi Survivor because Wes sent me his copy. We were talking about that, Wes, how you're like the Discord Santa now. We all have things behind us. That's
what's mine is yours.
Yeah, Wes is very much a generous person. So thank you for learning that.
We were showing off our Wes gifts.
Yeah, we have Wes gifts.
So just curious, you mentioned Remnant 2. Who are you playing Remnant 2 with? You and Zach playing together, or you guys have a different group, or playing with your kids?
I have played some Remnant 2 with. I've been playing mostly with Sal and Vince recently on the Discord, on the GGD Discord, but I've also played a couple of times with Ryan Stubbs, who's always a blast to play anything with. I
Awesome.
mean, all of those guys are a blast to play with. But
shout out to Sal and
yeah.
shout out to Stubbs.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that game has been a lot of fun. I'm itching to get into it even more because it's a very satisfying co-op game, and I love co-op games. It's kind of my thing. I'm more of a Zach is definitely more the competitive player. I don't do as well with competitive games because I get very angry and very upset, and I make everybody have a worse time. But with co-op,
everybody gets really uncomfortable and quiet.
With co-op though, that's more my bread and butter. I like to just go in and have a nice chill time, and play some like Shredder's Revenge or something. Kind of
thing. Can't wait for that DLC.
Oh my god, yeah.
Great.
I just anything like that. I love classic, but I also 80s kid. I mean, I grew up with beat 'em ups. I still go. They have like a nice like draftcade nearby, like a barcade that has like all the like the Simpsons, Turtles, X-Men.
So
got all of the classic arcade games, and you pay $10, you get a wristband, and that's it. No tokens or anything. You just play as much. You just push a button to continue. You can play through that's something I didn't get to do as a kid because you never got to finish those games because they ate your quarters. But now we actually get to see the endings of them. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, well, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. It's great to get to know you guys a little bit more. Let's jump in to some news bites. In our news bites section, we are each going to be bringing one news story from the last couple of weeks that have come out that we think is interesting and that we would like to share with our audience. So we're going to start with Brad. Brad, can you give us your news bite?
Sure. So this month I went with a story that is kind of a reoccurring story. We see this story pop up from time to time. I'll reference the one that I read, a short article on GameSpot titled "It's Time to Start Focusing on Video Game Preservation." Within that, there's a short segment on that article from their Spot On team entitled "You Don't Own Your Video Games Anymore." So we're talking about video game preservation here. There's there's an organization of people called the Video Game History Foundation, and they put in effort to preserve games that are what they consider, and I'm quoting, endangered species. They've estimated, a new study has come out. This is why we're kind of hearing about this again. That they're saying approximately 13% of classic games are currently commercially available. Meaning about 87% of your classic games, you can't buy. So you are going to need to either resort to some kind of trickery or, some kind of illegal activity in order to, preserve them.
Or
a lot of your
purchasing via a third-party market or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Not easily attainable.
Right, which I was going to say, these things are also not holding up anymore. Disk rot is destroying anything on a CD. As consoles get older, it's harder and harder to get things to work on them. Recently we saw 3DS and Wii U markets go off, so we lost a bunch. Then, yeah, so like I said, it's getting harder and harder, and with the amount of games that are coming out now, it just seems like the classics are getting kind of pushed behind. Now, it may seem kind of like an old man problem at this point, with digital and all that, but that's not even a solution at this point because we see it all the time. Games just vanish; they get delisted. You buy a physical copy and it doesn't work right out of the box. So, what do you do? Do you buy a giant hard drive and download this stuff? And try to hold on to it for yourself, or eBay again. Prices are skyrocketing on classic hardware and the original copies of these games, so it is getting a lot harder and harder. I actually was kind of interested when I was reading this article. I'm going to throw to Zach on this one if I can, because he's kind of a generation, maybe a half generation behind us, so I'm kind of wondering how he feels like his childhood is being treated, because I'll tell you, I'm having a harder and harder time finding a lot of the things that I played on modern media that's reliable. So how do you feel, Zach? How is this affecting you?
It's absolutely been affecting me. Some of my favorite childhood games have luckily recently been added to some of the playable platforms. A good example is Legend of Dragoon, one of my all-time favorite
Great
RPGs
game.
out there. And
Love that
it
game.
was impossible to play other than emulating until I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, maybe. And then they dropped it on the PlayStation Store and in PlayStation Plus. And I downloaded, or I said, got it on PlayStation Plus, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to buy this because I want to have the rights to it. But there are tons of other games out there that there is no way for me to go back and play. One, because they're just not being brought forward to these new consoles. They're not being remastered at all, and they're just kind of stuck out there. It's becoming more and more a problem as I've gotten older that some of these things that I played just are not there the way that I wish that I wish I could go back and show my kids some of these games.
Right.
I think probably my favorite example of that is one of the games that I've read many articles saying it is potentially one of the best games ever made. That's a little bit more unknown, and that's Lost Odyssey. That was
Absolutely
Xbox 360 game, made by the same person as is it Blue Dragon?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Blue Dragon? And
yep, great pick. Perfect example of what I'm talking about.
And that is such a masterpiece of a game. It has a very deep story. You feel for all these characters. The elements of the RPG and the battle systems are fantastic on how they work and mesh together. There is no way to play it. There is, other than emulating it, there is no way to play it at this point in time. And I have kind of advocated on multiple occasions with different people, this is a game that needs to be brought forward. As again, there's lots of people who have never even heard of it because it was a little bit more
that game doesn't even feel that old to me, which is spooky. No. Like that's a game that should still be around, in my opinion, at least.
Let's see, that was 2007 in Japan. It's not that old.
It's not that old.
There's things that need to happen. Which brings up the interesting point of, is emulation the way of the future? I know that with a lot of the common IPs, like for books and such as like Winnie the Pooh, that have lost their kind of hold over the copyright of it. As we're getting further away from when these games were made, are we going to see that same thing happening where it is legal to then have digital copies of this that aren't necessarily from the original seller? And should we be cataloging and saving all of these ROMs or files for these to be able to be played at a later time through emulation? If we can't keep the upsort or keep working on the consoles themselves, because as you talked about, those are going out. As those go out, we're going to have less and less of them. It's harder and harder to find it.
Prices are up and up and up.
It's definitely a serious problem. I would really recommend, if you have any interest in this topic, and you really should if you care about video games, that you go and check out the study that the Video Game
History Foundation.
Thank you. The Video Game History Foundation put out. Check out the study yourself. Read the figures and the facts. This is I would say kind of a monumental study, because there haven't been a lot of studies like this that have been put out there, and I hope that they kind of like take this and run with it, and consider donating to that foundation as well, because they do a lot of important work, and they can't do this kind of work without some kind of funding. And so check it out, and look into this. All right, I'm going to move us on to the next news bite. Let's jump over to Hunter. What do you have for us?
I was going to say, too, before I get into mine, that we'll for sure put like a link to that in the description of this, so that if you want to go to that, you can. Okay, so I guess we'll tone it back a little bit. That was a very serious. It's heartbreaking listening to that, especially with the older games, because clearly the newer games are going to be gone. That's my anybody who can look at the industry knows. They're giving you discs now that don't even have anything on them except for basically a key. So those are going away eventually. But the older games definitely need to find some way to salvage them. All right, my news bite is in a completely different direction. So I pulled mine from Escapist magazine. There's probably a few other places they reported. I saw Kotaku reported on it, but I like Escapist better than Kotaku, so I chose them. But there are 4 collectible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Xbox controllers that smell like pizza. And they have like this kind of toy controller slice of pizza on the back of it. I'm going to put it down in the box down here so you can actually get a look at what this. It kind of is ugly, to be honest with you, with the pizza on it. It's like can't imagine anybody actually playing with it. But the controllers are part of a promotional thing. They're only given out, I think, 4 of them because there's one for each.
Right. Yeah. There's only 4.
So it's not like
anybody's going to
give.
Made, so.
But it's just such a fascinating thing to see somebody go and actually make a controller smell like something. I had never seen it. I didn't know you could make things smell like other things until I saw this. And this was like my first foray into that, I guess, smell diffuser technology.
Apparently, there's some sort of like pizza scented oil, scented oil that they that comes with the controller that is what makes it smell like pizza.
So, from what I understand, the pizza is removable from the back. So you can actually just have the controller. And the controllers look really slick. Like I said, there's one for each turtle. They're all part... You can still, I think, go enter in it. I don't know by the time we actually get this out if that'll be true. Because it's part of a promotional campaign for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out on the 2nd.
Yeah, this says the competition ends on August 13th, so I think there will still be time.
Yeah, so you can go enter.
Depending on when you listen to this to get in there.
Chances are the pizza-smelling controller is going to be very valuable if you get one, and no plans from what I heard to make a Master Splinter controller, and no idea what they'd even make that smell like. You don't think Master Splinter's controller would smell like if they made one? Just like old cheese.
Scent is the sense most tied to memory. So you're talking about a potential like nostalgia bomb when you've got kind of this pizza smell and these Ninja Turtles. Like I might just turn like 8 years old again.
I don't need
anything. I
just
want to know how closely does it actually smell like pizza?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It just seems kind of.
If you listen to Microsoft, then it smells exactly like New York pizza. Like from your favorite New York pizza joint is what it's supposed to smell like.
Brad, being a New Yorker, you have to enter this contest. You have to win one of these Ninja Turtle controllers so you can tell us.
And I'm going to use this opportunity to shout out my favorite pizza joint on earth, and that is Ciro's Pizza in Smithtown, New York. Eat there if you can.
There you go. These controllers hopefully smell like that, but also flip side of the coin, hopefully don't, because as gamers, we don't need anything making us like hungry and want to make our fingers all oily with pepperoni and stuff too often. So
I don't need any more cravings for pizza.
Yeah. Anyway. So staying on the weird peripheral train, I'm gonna send it over to Zach. Zach, what do you have for us this week?
So my news article that I want to talk about is in reference to the kind of leaks in regards to the PlayStation's Project Q, which if you haven't seen anything about, they kind of have put a few announcements out there, is going to be a sawed in half PlayStation 5 controller that they then Frankensteined a 8-inch diagonal screen in the middle. Yeah. Which does not have any capabilities to play games outside of your house. It is meant to be kind of like a Wii U that doesn't actually connect to the to the PlayStation to play games at the same time. This is something that I have some problems with, especially since one of the things that they have talked about in this is the fact that this system is just running Android OS, which
so it can be hacked. Like crazy.
It can be hacked, but also why is this even
Xbox on it? Which is
why is this even necessary? Why are we creating this? Because you know what? I like to play my PS5 remote sometimes, but you know what I have? I have an Android phone. And iPhones can do it too, and you can do PS Play Remote. You can grab one of your PS4 or PS5 controllers on their attachments you can get for $5 to hold your phone in place and do the same exact thing. And we're probably going to be looking at $400 maybe $500 for something that's really not going to be
For a
that
backbone.
important.
You took the words right out of my mouth. The backbone is exactly what people should look into getting if they're interested in doing something.
I mean, it's it's kind of so you're saying that is it going to be streaming through the PlayStation?
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Okay, so like
Yeah.
I'm immediately out. Like
Yeah, exactly.
immediately
This seems
out.
like a waste.
Yeah,
The-
if you've got
instead-
$400-500, get a Steam Deck.
Yeah, exactly. Get a
Yeah.
Steam Deck. You can
Just put the games on
and
it.
you can emulate things on there, and play those older
Take
games.
it on the run.
Yeah.
But PlayStation has made great mobile platforms in the past. I think they maybe got a little overshadowed by Nintendo because Nintendo has always been this big player in there. But I loved my PSP, and I know that there's plenty of people who love the PS Vita. And if I remember correctly, didn't the PS Vita have a remote play ability where you could play your games on the go?
Use it all the time.
I can remote play right here, right now. Like you can already do it. You can get a controller and remote play directly on your phone, but there's no chance I'm going to do it because I can't handle, even if it's like a nanosecond of input lag, it throws my brain off. And like if it stutters like once every like 5 minutes, I'm like, no, I can't do it. Like, why am I playing it like this?
That's probably gonna be a big thing. If they somehow optimize this so that there is no lag whatsoever and it feels as clean as playing it on your TV, maybe there's a reason for it. But for right now, this just seems like something that they're spending money on to develop that, to be honest, they could probably spend doing a little bit of what Xbox is doing and actually saving some of the companies that are getting stolen up and losing some of their exclusives, which has been PlayStation's biggest brand like strength for years at this point.
Maybe they just have like a whole bunch of like didn't they make like Sony make like phones back in the day? Maybe they just have like a whole bunch of phones like left over, and like, you know, maybe they over manufactured controllers, so they just like sawed those suckers in half and stuck them in the sides of their
together.
You know, I saw like a really funny image. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it was like somebody had taken the Tears of the Kingdom like goop and made a picture of like the controllers stuck to the side.
I have not seen that, but that's very funny.
The master handed that thing together.
Yeah, that's so
awesome.
funny.
Oh, that's really dumb. Anyway, so we can't tell you what to do with your money, but please don't buy this, folks.
Yeah, but if you do and you like it,
Mhm.
then great. You know, we want people to have a good time, and if it's appealing to people, then, you know, by all means. Our opinions certainly are not the end all be all for these kind of things. It doesn't make a lot of sense to us.
I guess.
It sounds like. All right, Wes is just like, don't buy it. We'll hate you.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay, somewhere
But I
between
will.
those is
Just
where
kidding.
Wes sits.
All right, so we have 2 weird peripherals. Why not have 3?
Oh my goodness, it's peripheral news day.
Apparently. So this is care of Kotaku. Ubisoft is partnering with a company called OWO Haptics, or OO. I can't tell actually the true name of the company, but so in preparation for their Assassin's Creed Mirage release coming this fall, they are partnering with this company to develop this sort of like haptic shirt or haptic vest that you wear that apparently syncs with what's going on in the game. And so you can feel the assassin's character running, jumping, climbing, and also apparently being stabbed, because the haptics apparently simulate virtual stabbing, which I thought was really weird and really dumb.
I hope they stab me in the nipples.
All I feel from this is that somebody watched Ready Player One and was like, "Oh, that haptic like suit thing is a great idea." I mean, I guess for VR maybe.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see like what would that really do for you? I don't know. I guess if you're trying to get yourself like more immersed in the game, maybe it'll have a hookup to the DualSense and you can play it with your cute Project Q and have all the haptics happening everywhere all at once.
Yeah, no, you need to wear this with. Have you guys heard of the Palmer Luckey Death VR helmet?
Yes, don't buy that. But buy the Q before you buy that.
Just like an SAO helmet, Wes.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. He is developing a real life like suicide helmet that if you die in the game, it will actually kill you via the helmet.
That sounds like murder.
Yeah.
I hope nobody buys that.
So, I don't know why anybody would buy it.
No, I don't think
they could technically put that on the market. But
it's just a concept thing.
Anyway, this is a real weird thing. Apparently, this is going to be coming sometime close to the game, and
soon,
it's going to cost 499 euros, approximately $560. So if you have a whole, if you have
$60 to get stabbed.
A lot of cash, burn a hole in your pocket.
I'll tell you what, you can pay me $500 to come to your house, and when you get stabbed, I'll just punch you in the chest. How about that? I'll be there every day for $500 when you play Assassin's Creed Mirage. Yeah. You can even feel like you're getting kissed by other characters. I mean, I'm definitely better than a suit or whatever it is. It's not like a full body suit. I'm sorry I missed that part.
Are you offering to kiss people?
I don't know. It depends on how much.
Game?
Maybe that's like the premium package, for the Hunter Pearson Assassin's Creed Mirage haptic feedback.
Yes,
I'm a good kisser.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, on that
Sorry,
note,
I derailed that.
Attaboy.
On that note, that's going to end our news bites for this episode, and we're going to take it in to the Gaiden Top 10. The very first Top 10. This isn't just any Top 10. This is our community-driven Top 10. So we provide the topic, the community provides the nominees, the community votes, and we compile the results into our community Top 10. This month's topic, video game ninjas. So we will be counting down the top 10 video game ninjas as voted by the Great Game Debate Discord community.
Yeah, big thank you to everybody, by the way.
Yeah,
who participated in that. Great response.
Very
good response. Was, and I like it because as a stats guy, and very analytical guy, the more data I have, the more statistically significant it is. So I feel like this list is, from a community standpoint, very statistically significant in terms of what we actually think. So thank you to everybody.
How many ninjas did we have on the list, Hunter?
It ended up being, I don't have the list right in front of me, but it ended up being, I think, somewhere around 70 ninja submissions coming from, I think, about 30-ish people. So that's, a little over 2 ninjas per person.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, very cool.
All right, well, let's get this show on the road. Starting with number 10.
Number 10.
It is I, Rikimaru. Please forgive my absence.
Rikimaru? You're alive?
I kept myself alive by using the ninja deep sleep technique.
And you show up right when our lord is under attack?
While sleeping, I sent my shadow far and wide across the land.
Your shadow?
Yes, my shadow.
And how do we know you're not just a shadow?
I am Rikimaru. I am a shadow.
Number 10 is Rikimaru from the Tenchu series. Now, Hunter, I know you have a soft spot for Rikimaru. Can you tell us a little bit about this ninja?
I don't know if I'd say it's a soft spot. As far as ninjas go, he's he's kind of humorless. Like, he's a very loyal, stoic, serious. He is cocky. He does have that, and his dialogue can be at times so bad that it's funny, but it's never meant to be, I don't think. But yeah, a little background. From the Tenchu series, I've actually only played the first 3. That's when I was really into it. So PS1, PS2 games. He was the leader of the Zuma Ninja Clan. Classic ninja story. Mother and father murdered when he was baby. And then, of course, like the murderer took him in, as they tend to do, and trained him as an Azuma ninja. And then, so that became his father figure. And then that father figure got killed. It's like
you do.
I think they do in ninja games. They tend to do that sometimes. And then, like, one of the students, killed that mentor of his. And also, again, in a lot of ninja games, there's a fancy sword. There's one in this one. I'm probably going to mispronounce it. Steven will like this from the Great Game Debate podcast. He was calling me out because he said I was the type of person who would pronounce it Ninja Gaiden. And he's spot on. I do call it Ninja Gaiden because I didn't know how to pronounce it when I was, 8 years old. So when I mispronounce these ninjas and things, you'll have to forgive me. But it's Azuyo, I think. Azuye is the name of this sword. And it's kind of an important sword in the lore of Tenchu.
So I've never played a Tenchu game before. Slap on the wrist for me. But what makes Rikimaru a good cool ninja? What is it about him that's so awesome?
Well, yeah. So it really is. I mean, especially the first game, which I think most people, if you had them rank it, probably comes out on top. The first 3 are definitely, I think, generally speaking, the best. And then they kind of went downhill from that, from what I understand. I don't think I played them after that. But the very first one was kind of ahead of its time. I mean, it wasn't even supposed to come to the US, but it was so good that they decided to bring it. And it's like a ninja simulator. That's what makes it so cool. Of course, the PS1 had terrible draw distance. I mean, maybe one of the worst draw distances in any game. So the whole thing is set at night to kind of make up for that. But you can really, what it reminds me of now? It's like an influence in a way to Hitman even. Just because you can approach levels from many different perspectives. As you play, you can go back and you get new tools to use.
Garden tools.
Ninja garden tool. Although what is the kunai is I think traditionally a garden tool. That's what that's meant to dig under walls and stuff for gardening. So you say that jokingly, but I think there is something to that.
Oh no, I said that on purpose because.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's you get out there with a new rake. You
get
the rake of destiny.
You get really good. I mean, for a game that old, you get really good collection of things to play with. You get a grappling hook, which had to have been really hard to do back then. You got firecrackers and smoke bombs and shuriken. You get it really is very much like a stealth thing. There are levels where it's you can't alert anybody. There's information gathering. It's super ninja. And the story is hard to follow, and like I said, the dialogue is
sounds like it's FromSoft game.
Right. Well, this one wasn't FromSoft.
It is FromSoft.
The first
one? It is FromSoft.
I thought that they just did a port of it or something. Maybe it is. All right. Will you look it up while
I'm looking it up.
There's actually 2 playable ninjas right off the bat in that game too. I mean, Rikimaru I think is the one that most people remember, but Ayame was a female ninja that you could play as. Slight differences in the way they played, but pretty much the same levels in the first game. And the music was fantastic, because the PS1, that's when it was the music in games really, could be showcased even better. So,
Brad, did you have any history with Tenchu at all?
Yeah, it sounds like Hunter played the first 3. I only played the first one, Stealth Assassins, but this is probably could be a controversial statement nowadays, but back when these 2 games were out, and at least amongst me and my friends, this game rivaled Metal Gear Solid as a stealth
It came out
game.
the same year.
Yeah, like so, like we regarded those two games like, I mean, Metal Gear had it edged out in story and dialogue, and that it had a little bit different thing going on, but Tenchu was on the level as far as gameplay, as far as like all of that stuff, like the mechanics and the weapons. It was really great. As Hunter mentioned, a lot of the dialogue was rough, and I'd imagine it's a lot more rough nowadays.
Yeah, probably did not age well.
Long time, since I've been back. But I feel like this character is a great and appropriate number 10 ninja. Like, it belongs there because of its history, but it's a little rough. And compared to the rest of the list, as we reveal them,
it's a great 10.
Maybe it hasn't aged as well, but for those of us who were there in a place at a time,
it was so cool.
Rikimaru has a place on this list for sure.
Well, and it obviously held the hearts of people for a long time, because there's a really popular mod for Sekiro where you can play through the entire game as Rikimaru, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
One other thing I'll mention about it, because it's just I was reminded of it while we were talking, but I would say just one thing that I didn't like about it is hard to do on the PlayStation 1 back then. It did it differently, but it did have the original game tank controls, which I remember being really it almost forced you into being as stealth and ninja as you could be, because if you got into active combat, you know what I mean? You'd have people around you and you'd kill one person, then you'd be like it's you can't. But it's so replayable, and it was it had decapitation, which is also a huge thing for us, back in the day when you actually got good animations and dismemberment and stuff like that. It was awesome. Awesome game.
All right.
Memorable ninja.
Rikimaru, clearly the best number 10 ninja. But moving on to the number 9 spot on our list.
Number 9.
Key from a tiger gun. I'm going to hack into their communications.
We have Batman. Now, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with this this number 9 entry. Okay, the topic is video game ninjas, and there was a lot of support for Batman on this list. But in my opinion, and I'm sorry, great game debate community, but I don't agree with you on this. I don't agree at all. It's not so much that Batman isn't a ninja, which I think that's also debatable, but I really don't think of him as a video game ninja. He's not even truly a video game character. He's a comic book character and a cartoon character and a movie character that they made video games about. And even the whole ninja thing, I think, is debatable, because Batman came out in 1939. How many ninjas do you think people were aware of in 1939? I checked, and there was kind of what's considered 3 booms for ninja popularity in pop culture. The first one was in the 20s and 30s in Japan. The second was in the 60s in Japan. And the third didn't happen until the 80s in the US, after which ninjas became more widespread. So I don't think that Batman was developed with the idea of him being a ninja. I know that there's been a lot of connotations in, Batman media about his training, and he was trained in all sorts of martial arts and blah 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 blah. But personally, I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
I want to just sincerest apologies to the people who voted for Batman. Okay, just so that we can get the other person on here who I wasn't that down on him, but I definitely was kind of starting to second guess the entire concept of this show when I saw Batman made the list. You know, because I do think Batman is a ninja, like canonically, like I mean, in the comics and in the movies, but I can't really think of a time where I felt like there was a video game representation of Batman as a ninja, and then all I wanted was for that to exist. Like I want, like, you know, Ninja Batman the video game, but the Arkham ones are just basically like, how many dudes can we beat up in one group? Which is like not a very ninja behavior. So
Yeah, that's true. I think that it's probably a happy accident, maybe, that Batman ended up with a lot of ninja characteristics and got him here. This is definitely kind of one of the more oddball ones. Definitely, I think, to make this list. He's. I think he is a ninja in my mind too. Just how I grew up with him on TV, and then the Christian Bale movies, and he's basically was trained as a ninja. That's my Batman. So I see him as a ninja. I haven't played in the Arkham games, unfortunately, yet again, like Wes, slap on my wrist. But every single like piece of his kit just feels like ninja gear, and I think he deserves to be listed as ninjas. Having him be on this list is kind of a surprise, though. Happy surprise, though. I think it's
considering how many ninjas were on there, yeah, it was but fun.
I just want to clarify. Like, I don't dislike Batman. I really think that Batman is a great character. I love Batman. I just don't necessarily agree with him being on this list, and I didn't mean to come off like uber strong. So if I did, I apologize. I part of the fun of this show is you know, seeing what the community list is, and then, you know, we don't necessarily have to agree with it.
We're not going to agree, not all the time. What do you think, Brad? Batman belong?
Yeah, you know what? Let's not make any like bones about it. Batman has been canonically a ninja before. So there's no question that Batman has been, and probably in the future will be, considered a ninja. But is Batman a ninja in a video game? Officially, absolutely not. He does ninja-y things. You know, shout out to Sunsoft Batman, like purple Batman bouncing between walls and
that's a good Batman game.
Throwing sharp weapons. The music is awesome, but it's not a ninja game. You know, just to me, again, Batman's amazing, just like Wes said. But as far as being a video game ninja, I don't think I can agree.
So I think we should all have to go around, starting with Wes, and say one thing that's ninja-like about video game Batman, because I can name at least 3. So maybe somebody can come up with another one.
I just named one, the throwing weapons.
Throwing weapons. Yeah. There you go. He's got shurikens like shaped like bats. That's definitely ninja.
He's stealthy.
Stealthy.
He's stealthy.
All right,
like a ninja.
Stealthy.
Grappling hooks.
Grappling hooks. There we go. All right, we have 3 things. I will add that he, in very historically accurate ninja form, likes to get at almost exactly a 45-degree angle above, like, his enemies, so it's outside of their eye line. That's extremely ninja, to get above and look down at what and assess what you're up against. So
that's great. Still not a video game ninja. Let's move on to a real ninja with our number 8 pick.
Number 8.
For number 8, we have Shadow from Final Fantasy VI. There's a lot of love for Shadow in this group, but I'm going to let Brad talk about it first.
Shadow from Final Fantasy VI is a very, very special ninja to me. And I don't want to go off on a tangent where I just, expel my personal experience with this thing and how much I love it, but Shadow from Final Fantasy VI, with the exception of maybe one other Final Fantasy character, is like the most elusive ninja. In a video game. Yuffie, she's the exception. She is absolutely optional. Shadow's as close as you can get to it. I mean, you can blink and miss Shadow. There's only one portion of this game where you
several times you can blink and miss him.
I mean, you can play almost the entire game without him, which I think is so cool. There's like a lot you can miss, but there's a lot you can learn. It's this ninja for hire character that you run into at inns, and you run into in the middle of the woods, and you run into in caves and dungeons, and you never know when you're going to run into Shadow, and you never know when Shadow's just going to say, you know what, screw it, like your money's only going to go so far for me, and I'm out of here. So a really neat kind of character that swings in and out. And, probably since the game's so old now, people already know this, so I'm not spoiling anything, but you can let Shadow die really easily without even knowing it. I mean, he comes to your rescue on the floating continent on Final Fantasy VI during that huge scene where the world ends, and if you're the game has got you on a timer. It's got you rushing off this continent for your life, and when you get to the end, your instinct isn't to stop and wait.
Yeah.
Your instinct is to get the hell out of there. But if you don't stop and wait, Shadow will die. You will not run into him again, which is really neat. Just a kind of a cool mechanic. The Final Fantasy up to that point had never done anything like that. So ninja characters had been featured before in starting in Final Fantasy 1. It's been a class in Final Fantasy, but we've never seen it so dynamic before. Really, really neat. Also, Shadow is a kind of a subject of online conspiracy. That's,
I didn't know that.
No, for real. Like, a lot of people don't know that Shadow is Realm's father.
Yeah,
I do remember actually hearing that. Yeah,
there's all those hidden cutscenes that you like could totally miss, and you have to do like specific things to like trigger them, and like dream flashbacks and stuff.
That's like after the world ends, right? Like you get that stuff, or is it?
Yeah, well, that's when this kind of flashbacks are revealed. But all this went on before.
Okay.
He was part of this. He was part of this kind of crew. He goes. His before he had to kind of go into the shadows. He was this character named Clyde, who was part of this kind of duo. This partner called the Shadow Bandits. And so there's this whole backstory on him that so many people who have even played Final Fantasy VI over and over and over again over the years still don't know what's going on with Shadow.
I probably missed some of that. I played through that game a number of times. So.
Right. So, without hogging the whole, I could talk about Shadow for an entire podcast.
Well, you missed one huge thing, though.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I know. I want to kick to Wes because I know this is his favorite game. So let's hear what Wes has to say about Shadow. What are your how do you feel?
You covered a lot of it. I mean, I absolutely love Shadow. He was one of my favorite characters in Final Fantasy VI, which is my favorite game ever. I love his ability. He has the throw ability, and you could pick up. He could throw pretty much any weapon that you have for big damage, but you can buy like ninja throwing weapons.
I'm gonna lose my mind. Somebody fucking say it. I'm sorry. Say it. He
has a dog.
He has a dog.
He has a dog named Interceptor. Interceptor will come in randomly and attack enemies for you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now you continue. I'm sorry. I needed to hear it.
That is a very cool thing about Shadow.
He has an awesome. When you meet Shadow, he has a dog, and like he doesn't even talk to you. But then you go try and talk to his dog, and he's like, I don't even remember what he says. I think he says something like he's like going to eat your eyes out or something. I don't know. It's something crazy.
He'd slit your mama's throat for a nickel.
But yeah. Well, I think that actually, I think for the people who have the video version, you probably have seen this clip right before we started talking about this, so be fresher in your minds than ours. But yeah, he definitely says something when they try and talk to the dog. It's really funny.
Anyway, he's a great ninja. I know I don't want to leave Zach out of the conversation at all. So Zach, do you have anything additional to add about Shadow?
Definitely, I played Final Fantasy VI a little bit later than some other of the games. It's not really as fresh in my mind now, though. I did love Shadow a ton. He was one of those like first ninja characters I ever really ran into in a game, and kind of fell in love with him there. I was kind of looking up a little bit earlier to remember some of his moves and stuff, and you were talking about the throw. You can throw offensive weapons. I also think it's really cool that you can throw scrolls for elemental damage. So it's like he's performing ninjutsu on them and like causing fire and stuff to go on him. Also, I think it's really cool that his desperation attack or special attack is called Shadow Fang, which does a ton of damage and also basically poisons the enemy, which is a very ninja thing to do.
Most people probably don't even know that the characters in that game have a desperation attack because they're so rare and actually triggering.
Yeah,
I've only seen one.
Really?
All of the times that I've played that game.
Amazing.
Apparently, I'm not that desperate.
I mean, I can
You're always topped up.
probably count them on two hands, but wow, yeah, they're pretty rare.
Yeah. Oh. Shadow
Definitely
is
really
a
cool ninja. I think that this is a perfect spot for him at 8. He definitely deserves to be on this list. Yeah, I think this is a great choice by everyone in the community. Good job.
Yeah, no doubt on this one for sure. So we're gonna kick it to our number 7 pick.
Number 7.
Number 7 is Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I know we had some actual debate in the Discord about Jin and whether or not he was actually a ninja or whether he was more of a, just a rogue, dishonored samurai. Jin, for those who don't know, spoilers for Ghost of Tsushima, is a character whose basically entire family, with the exception of his uncle, his entire clan was slaughtered by the Mongols who took over Tsushima Island, and he was kind of left for dead, and he escaped, and he is on a quest for revenge and to take back his island. But he cannot fight in the traditional samurai way, with just a sword and his honor. He has to gain the aid of some disreputable people, and he has to use some disreputable tactics that some feel are dishonorable for a samurai. But many of those tactics resemble ninja tactics. There's a great scene in the game where he poisons an entire camp of Mongols so that he can sneak in and get to their leader. He uses all kinds of throwing weapons, throwing knives, smoke bombs, and you can get although he doesn't have any ninja garb, so to speak, you can get various masks to put on him. He doesn't have a tabby suit or anything like that he wears, but yeah, we did have some folks though that didn't think that Gene was a ninja on the Discord so much. What do you guys think about Gene?
I think those people who don't think that he's a ninja are dead wrong. I actually kind of think that a huge point to that story is his transition from samurai to ninja. It's almost like that's what's happening, but it's such a big part of it is, him having to, use ninja techniques to basically get, his revenge, carry out, his tasks, and there's just no way to me that you can overlook the skill tree techniques, I mean, think about all the other ninjas that we've talked about, let's compare to like Rikamaru. I mean, it's the same. If I'm talking about it being a ninja simulator for Tenchu, you're talking about shinobi tools, firecrackers, black powder bombs, a thrown kunai, which is basically like a shuriken. He uses a blowgun,
I forgot about that.
Like this is a ninja. Like this is
a ninja, dude.
That's like and like you said,
he's a samurai turned ninja. That is so cool.
And as you mentioned, like and the people again who watched the video version of this probably got the preview of the poisoning. But again, like he poisons, he sneaks in and out of camps. You know, he sneaks in and collects his information. He has left. I mean, the storyline right in the beginning with his father basically teaching him the honor of the samurai and him turning his back on that as the story progresses. Again, I think the whole point is kind of he's moved into becoming a ninja by necessity. He's absolutely a ninja in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people that play this game complain that using these stealth tactics in the game makes the game too easy, because when you actually play like a ninja versus playing like an honorable samurai.
Those people just don't. Those people just don't enjoy fun.
I think.
Well, that's all there is to it.
To see it on their part, though, I don't feel like we have a ton of games out there that you play as like the honorable samurai, and you're going to get into these showdowns and duels. I haven't played all the way through this game. In the parts that I have played, I'm still basically doing all just samurai stuff. And I think it's pretty fun to have that. So seeing it from the point of view, it is a cool aspect to be able to do these whole fights. But I think that Hunter's right. Like, as he dives into this, realizing that his honorable way doesn't work, he 100% goes towards being a ghost, which, if ninjas are anything, they're ghosts.
It's a ghost. That's his name.
And they disappear.
That's his name. It's Ghost. Well, and to Brad's point, just a little bit more, well, not to his point, I guess I'm kind of going a little bit against it, because I actually played this game like almost being as samurai as I could, because I loved the face-offs, I loved the sword fights. It wasn't because of the honor, I just thought the animations were cool, and it's all shallow reasons, but I played more as a samurai. But you can't, even if you play the entire game that way, even if you go about it in the most samurai way possible, facing your enemy, you can't escape the cutscenes that exist in that game. One of the earliest cutscenes too is like him for the first time having to sneak into a camp, like having to, basically murder people from behind. There's like a cutscene where he like is caught by his uncle or something, lopping off somebody's head from behind, and it's like a huge moment of, this is not samurai. Like, he's in cutscenes being a ninja, so you can't not see those cutscenes.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out to Ghost of Tsushima. If you plan on playing this game and you haven't played it already, don't skip the Iki Island DLC. It's an awesome DLC, and the story that it tells is pretty much, in my opinion, integral to the entire story of the character. It's very personal. I really recommend it. So, Gene, I think he's a ninja. We can have more discussion in the Discord if you disagree.
Yeah,
for now, let's move on to ninja number 6.
Number 6.
One more time, Hanzo. You never learn. A man's never too old to learn.
Fatality. Sub-Zero wins.
Ninja number 6 is Sub-Zero from the Mortal Kombat series. Hunter, give us a lowdown on Sub-Zero.
Yeah. Oh man, I love Sub-Zero, probably again for shallow reasons, but I have this memory in my head. I think in 6th grade, I walked into Putt-Putt, which a miniature golf course. My parents had to go get the clubs. They had an arcade in there. There's a couple of dudes over around this machine I'd never seen before. I kind of walked over and peeked. The first character I saw was Sub-Zero fighting Kano, and the dude just looked so cool. And the dude knew the fatality, and he ripped Kano's head off. And I was like, I mean, 6th grade
with
me,
the spinal cord hanging down.
Oh
and
my
all
god,
that.
6th grade me was just like, oh, do I have to play Putt-Putt? And ever since then, I've just had this. I mean, I just love Sub-Zero. I guess a few things that people may not realize about Sub-Zero, because we're talking about ranking ninjas, but Sub-Zero, you really have to say Sub-Zeros because there are more than one. It's not all the same Sub-Zero over the timeline. Not even in the original couple of games, they're 2 different Sub-Zeros. So, you have Bihan and somebody help me out. Kuai Ling. Thank you. Kuai Ling, they're brothers. So again, I don't. It's hard to spoil the Mortal Kombat story because it's so convoluted and it stretches over. There's two.
I don't think that you can spoil the Mortal Kombat story because it is so convoluted.
It's so crazy. Well, there's multiple stories actually, because there's the Midway version, and then there's the NetherRealm version. Both of them kind of have the same situation though, where Bihan, the original Sub-Zero, is killed by Scorpion, and then Kuai Ling shows up to basically replace his brother, avenge his death, that kind of thing. They are both members of the see, I knew I was going to mispronounce some of these and forget what they are. What's the name of their clan? Lin Kai? Is that right? Lin Kuai? I don't know how to pronounce these things. That's another one for Steven.
1 second.
Interesting fact about Bihan, while I'm waiting for that confirmation, that I'm not sure a lot of people know, is that he's brought back and reborn, resurrected by Quan Chi as Noob Saibot. So Sub-Zero is Noob Saibot, which I think is so funny. Which, of course, if y'all know that's just Tobias and Boone backwards, the makers of that game.
Right.
All right, while he's also looking at, did you find it?
Lin Kuei clan.
Okay. Well, if we mispronounce it, we mispronounce it. Now.
Send your corrections to Jonah Gomez.
Right.
Great game debate.
To really spark this discussion, though, after I just gushed about how much I love Sub-Zero, I do have a couple of funny points to make that are going to absolutely shit on this entire conversation. So first of all, in Mortal Kombat 11, Sub-Zero himself, in an intro with Cassie Cage, point blank says, she asks him something like, what are you, late for the ninja convention? Like a Cassie Cage thing to say. And he responds with, Lin Kuei are not
Where's
ninjas.
the ninja convention?
So Sub-Zero does not even consider himself a ninja. And I'm going to take this a step further. Okay? When confronted about it, the creator of the game, John Tobias, said in a very, and I don't know, do you guys want he had like an 8 thing thread explanation on Twitter years ago, but basically in the last one said, basically to summarize, Sub-Zero is not a ninja, Scorpion is a ninja, and it has everything to do with Sub-Zero coming from a group of Chinese assassins, and Scorpion coming from a clan of actual Japanese ninjas. And so this is what I have to say to both of those personally. The hell with that. Sub-Zero is definitely a ninja. That is ridiculous. And it says he's a ninja in the very first game in his description. So I'm going with, I don't care about the creator's opinion or what Sub-Zero says. That is definitely a ninja. And it would be like a ninja to say that they're not one. So
Yeah.
Well said.
just to wrap up this discussion on Sub-Zero, what's everybody's favorite Sub-Zero fatality?
I mean, I just said mine because I can't ever go away from it. It's just
You're with the classic there.
Yeah, maybe look these up. It's been a minute since I even thought about
I'd love to
them.
name another one, but I have to agree with Hunter. My favorite's the decapitation.
Just with the spine coming off. So back
totally.
then, it was something else. You never saw anything like that.
Same
I just
here.
like when he freezes a
mind
guy and
was-
like shatters him, just because like it has so much more to do with the character himself and his kind of moveset. So
Is that because you owned a Super
I remember
Nintendo?
my favorite one.
yeah, I love all that sweat flying off the characters while they're
That was the Super
tickling each other.
Nintendo. That was the Super Nintendo. Just I gotta before you go, Zach. I gotta say this because it was a big part of my life because I was the one with the Genesis and had to listen to all the Super Nintendo kids in school talk about how much better all that stuff was for like ever. And you know, I was like, Mom, can we get a Super Nintendo? And she's like, we have a Super Nintendo, and pointed to the Genesis, which I love the Genesis. No harm to the Genesis, but when Mortal Kombat got the blood code and Super Nintendo was left with Sub-Zero just freezing them and then uppercutting them, it was like
I felt justified finally.
yeah. All right, Zach, what you got?
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's one of his, and from one of the newer ones, and where he creates a like sword out of ice and then starts it spinning as like things get drawn into it. I may be wrong on who this is, but
It sounds
I
cool.
don't know all the new ones.
It's one of the newer ones, and it is brutal and fantastic all at the same time. And I saw a really funny thing about it because someone did it with Alien, who is now in the Mortal Kombat game, and he gets the alien blood all over him,
Oh, that's
which
so
would
funny.
just dissolved him
That's
into
so
bits.
funny. Yeah, that's. I never even thought about that. Yeah,
That is funny.
it's hard to keep up with all of the ones because they put so many different things, and with the brutalities and stuff, it's like I couldn't even name a lot of them.
All right, well, leaving Sub-Zero at number 6, we're moving into our number 5 position, top 5.
Number 5.
He will risk his life to take me home. For he is my shinobi.
My lord, I have come for you. This will only take a moment.
At number 5, Mikiri countering his way into our hearts is Wolf from Sekiro. Zach, give us the lowdown on Wolf.
Well, number 5 on our list, number 1 in my heart. This was my top pick. Sekiro was a character that I didn't really get into until about a year and a half ago when Hunter forced me to play through this game, and I caused him to get absolutely furious with the fact that I beat a boss on my third try that took
Let him talk about this.
a long time. Dude. I was not going to let this one go. I think Wolf is the son of a ninja who forced him into doing things that he may necessarily want to do, and he didn't realize he had a choice until we get into the story of Sekiro. And he feels like one of the most ninja-esque characters that you can play in any game. It being a FromSoft sort of game and a more of a kind of a Soulsborne, there's a lot of times you don't want to get into fights with certain enemies, and his abilities to maneuver around using grappling hooks, sticking to the shadows, and really just hiding his way through dangerous situations or getting the better of enemies through other situations is iconic of what a ninja is. I think one of my favorite things that they put in this game that is so true for a ninja is that even on the biggest boss you're going to fight, you can usually get in behind them and cause them to get taken down by a little bit just because you're a ninja and you have those abilities. I think that Wolf, I'm so happy to see him up in the top 5 on this list. He really does encapsulate all that makes a ninja. I think a lot of that comes from Soft's work with the Tenchu series too. I think that having them both on this list is fantastic because all the work they put into that feels like they brought that in and said, we're going to go all in on Sekiro and making sure that we live up to what we started with Tenchu and to make it as good as it can be. Especially with he has so many tools. There's so many cool things.
Yeah, he's got all the ninja tools.
He's got all the
literally
ninja
called a shinobi prosthetic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think I can name Hunter's favorite one.
What's that?
Prosthetic
firecrackers.
Well, that's
Hunter
everybody's.
loves the
Everybody loves the firecrackers because it's like the boss cheese, you know. It's also very ninja, but like it is probably the most go-to like struggling with this boss, you know, like some of us mortals do, unlike Zach who just powers through some of the hardest in the game. Yeah, that definitely. I mean, he's got it's kind of like almost in a way. Again, I don't want to go and harp back on it, but it's the same kind of like justification for Jin, which is all the ninja stuff. He's got the gadgets, he's got the firecrackers, he's got the bombs. You know, they even take it even further in this game though. They have like stuff. I watched like a documentary just on like the history of ninjas, just so like I'd have some historical context for some of this. And some of the stuff in Sekiro that's historically accurate is kind of amazing. Like the different colored rice, the pellets that you take. Mm-hmm. I learned historically like ninjas made these actual pellets because when they had to be like kind of concealed and hiding for long periods of time, these were meant to be both food and hydration so that they could essentially stay hidden for longer to like eavesdrop. And I was like, man, this is some super ninja shit going on in this game. So
they went to a lot of the like Japanese mythology with it too. Like the giant serpent is represented in a lot of ninja stories that we see coming from Japan, and especially in a lot of animes. You see these giant serpents, or serpents are a big part of it. They did a fantastic job making a world for the ninjas, and this amazing game. I'm so happy with this pick at number 4.
You want to
Wolf
know
has an A+ grappling hook.
Oh, it's
also,
the best.
S tier.
Yeah.
S tier grappling hook.
For its time,
so
Tenchu's was good, but man, yeah, that thing, like going back to it, is probably freaking horrible after playing some of these games. It's such a good grappling hook.
All right.
He has all those moves too.
Yeah, moving on from a modern classic, Wolf at number 5. We're moving into our number 4 pick.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Sheik from the Legend of Zelda series and Smash Brothers. So, Zach, you were just giving us the hype on Wolf.
And Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
Is Sheik in Hyrule Warriors?
Yeah.
I've never played Hyrule Warriors.
Probably the most ninja version of Sheik.
Could be, yeah. Like, the thing about Sheik, and Zach, maybe you can give me your thoughts, but like, in original Ocarina of Time, like, you never see Sheik do anything except for like appear out of nowhere and then like throw a smoke bomb.
Very ninja.
I guess, but like
it's I think that what makes her a ninja, especially in that, it's not just the fact that she shows up every once in a while to like throw it, like jump in front of you, tell you something, and throw a smoke bomb and run away. It's that after Link disappears, when he uses the Ocarina of Time to go through the Temple of Time and go to the future, that kingdom is left alone. And the only thing that is kind of helping to mitigate some of the damage from Ganondorf taking over the kingdom, I believe, is Sheik in the background, causing mass mayhem and causing issues across the entire place, because she's always going everywhere. She's getting into things. She's really the reason why when Link comes back, he is able to really put up a fight, because Ganondorf and his forces haven't overwhelmed as much as they could have. She definitely comes in, I think, for a ninja for that, because she's causing just issues behind the scenes and is not necessarily in the limelight.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of history with the Smash Brothers series. What's Sheik's moveset like in Smash?
She has, but she has like it's been a minute since I played Sheik. She has a grappling hook. She has kind of like little grenade things as well. She's very hand-to-hand combat oriented, which is such a unique one, because do they split Sheik and Zelda apart now? I'm trying to remember. Are they still the same?
I believe
character?
so, yeah. Zelda's a different character.
I remember in the original one, it was kind of a neat thing to see, because you had them as the same character, and you could switch back and forth to do magic with Zelda and then switch to go be like really close combat with Sheik. Her moveset is very ninja-esque. I think she has like a disappearing move as well, where she'll like show up behind somebody. But it has been a while since I have played.
She has like a throwing. Sorry, I had to capture footage. I don't like main Sheik or anything, but I was capturing footage for this, and she definitely has like kind of like throwing needles or something in Smash, and has throwing, I think, kunai and Hyrule Warriors. But yeah, in Smash there's definitely at least one kind of throwing item, and there are the smoke bombs. They kind of like a teleportation thing, which is definitely like a ninja skill.
Okay. Brad, do you have any deep thoughts about Sheik?
Not really. It's kind of I feel like now we're down to like number 4, and this list has ended up kind of being like top 10 most contested ninjas. It's like we're like trying to qualify this like group of ninjas.
These are great ninjas.
But I mean, with the focus off of like, can we technically pin Sheik down to being a ninja or not? She's badass, and Zach is absolutely right. Like, I always thought that like Sheik was the only thing standing between Ganon and the world, while that's 7 or so years went by, and I think that's badass. It's just you're probably my favorite kind of mentor / music teacher in a video game. Let's put it that way.
Well, and it can't be, and I'm not trying to qualify it. I just want to talk about the cool ninja stuff. So instead of like making it sound like I'm trying to validate Sheik as a ninja, because obviously these are ninjas, like, especially we're getting into these top 5. Like there's not any debate about it, but a lot of ninja technique is disguising yourself. And that's exactly what it is that Sheik is doing. So
for sure,
that's definitely some ninja activity. Even if ninja music instructor.
And we can't disregard the fact that they included Sheik in Ocarina of Time, which correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone has, because I know there's people who's played more Legend of Zelda games than me, but without that having been something within Ocarina of Time, we wouldn't have had the Impa, we wouldn't have had the Koga's the leader of it. Is it the Koga clan? Is that the other clan as well?
Well, Impa is in Ocarina of Time also.
Is it?
Impa is one of the sages in Ocarina of Time.
Right.
Okay, but there wasn't like the whole like Sheikah clan and stuff in Ocarina of Time yet, was there?
No. There were Sheikah stones, actually, weren't there? Like Impa, those stones, and they just had the eye on it.
I want to say Impa was introduced in the manual of Zelda 2.
Could be,
Jeez, what a pull that is.
Brad, break out your copy of Zelda 2. Pull out the manual. Let's see it.
By the way, the fact that we've had this is brought around.
If you want me to grab it, seriously. It's right
there. It's brought around one of the most fun aspects of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which is going in and interacting with these different clans, because they're there and they're part of the world, and you can definitely tell that they were like warring ninja factions, and just a lot of fun, especially like in Tears of the Kingdom. You can get the whole like outfit for the Koga clan and just go like hang out with them pretty much, which is disguising yourself, and has led to some more ninja aspects in the new games, which I think is really cool. I think she's had a very big impact on the Legend of Zelda series just for the bringing in Sheik.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think that was definitely the kind of the basis for the start of all of that, and the ninja stuff in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild is great, for sure. Let's get down to the top 3. For our number 3 ninja.
Number 3.
We have Raiden from the Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Rising series.
I think you mean Raiden. Sorry, that's for Steven again.
What was I thinking? Raiden.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's Mortal Kombat you're thinking of.
I know, I mispronounced it on purpose just to piss Steven off. It's fine.
All right. So if you're ever looking for a guy to chop up a watermelon, Raiden is your guy. Raiden starts out as a bit of a wiener in Metal Gear Solid 2. He's kind of like the character that everybody was disappointed that they had to play as instead of Snake. But they do like the biggest 180 in video game history and turn him into just the most badass cyborg ninja. And cyborg ninjas have been a long-standing staple of the Metal Gear Solid series. So when they bring him back in 4 and they turn him into the cyborg ninja of that game, it's just like, oh yeah, now we're talking. And then they put him into Rising and they just turn you loose and you can chop up anything and everything in that game. And that's just platinum, running on, at full tilt.
Just camp to the max. It's so great. I love it.
It's super good, and the cutscenes in that thing where he's just like basically like dancing on top of his sword,
You're talking about in 4.
In 4, yeah. I mean, if you ever want to watch a feature-length film about Raiden, just doing battle, playing Metal Gear Solid 4, but super cool character. They really just turned that guy around, and love to hear what you guys think about Raiden.
I mean, I think you nailed it with the cut. Yep. The cutscenes in 4, I think, make Raiden one of maybe the second best cyborg ninja in history, in my opinion. But those cutscenes are pretty hard to beat. With like his fights with Vamp in that game, Vamp's like licking his knife. And Raiden's just like cutting down all the Metal Gears and there's like one part where Vamp actually gets behind him and Raiden like just stabs his sword through himself like into Vamp and they're just both like embraced with this sword. Oh my god, those cutscenes are probably some of the best in video game history. They're so entertaining to watch. I could watch them all day.
Yeah, and I just remember in Rising, just kind of like the first stage where you just go up against Metal Gear Ray.
Yeah.
And you're basically just running up the side of him and just chopping him into tiny bits. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Such a good, like, Kojima type backstory. In a lot of ways, it is somewhat of a copy of Gray Fox's story in terms of just being, child soldier, kind of taken under the wing by one of the snakes. I guess it's Solidus Snake. Is that right? That's not right.
Yeah.
Okay,
You got it right.
another father figure that has to go eventually. For the ninjas, that's a
sounds like a theme here.
It is a theme, but it's just this is a person who went basically through hell, like tortured, like essentially fused to this cyborg, injected with what do they call this?
Nanomachines.
Nanomachines. I want to say nanobots, and that's not it. But yeah, man, just in 4 and Rising, right? And I know Rising isn't like a Kojima game, but that's one of the most fun games to watch anybody play. Even if you're not playing it, it's just so cool to watch.
If you ever want to see a cyborg ninja dress up in a poncho and a sombrero, that's the game for you.
Well, fun fact, since I was bringing up, my personal favorite cyborg ninja, there's actually in Rising, there's a Gray Fox skin, and you can have Gray Fox's sword in that game. Not that anybody should do that, because you can ride in his Gray too. But if you want to play as Gray Fox in that game, you kind of can. It's mostly just a skin. I don't think there's any. It's just cosmetic, but it's really cool to see. Because I personally like the look of Gray Fox better, but
preferences.
That's a taste.
Let's move on to one of Brad's preferences with the number 2 ninja.
Number 2.
Ryu Hayabusa.
Number two is Ryu Hayabusa, and introduced in December of 1988 in Japan. Ninja Gaiden came out in March of 1989 in the United States, and just to let folks in, when we were sitting around kind of brainstorming this podcast and, what we were going to call this thing, once we landed on the name Gaiden, that led us to our first episode being Top 10 Ninjas. And the reason for that is Ryu Hayabusa. And in my opinion, he should be number 1. He is the quintessential video game ninja. People who are of our generation, when you say video game ninja, this is the first one that pops into your head for most of us, I think. So, this character remains the video game ninja, the definition. And I know there's new games and there's spin-offs and there's all kinds of things. Like, I come from just the 3 legendary NES titles is enough for me. These games are packed with anime cutscenes. For a lot of us, this is the first time we even saw anime. This is the first time we ever saw that art style. This is the first time a lot of us were introduced to ninjas. I can say that for me, for sure. This is my first exposure to kind of, Japanese anime, period. So this one is deep in my heart. When I think video game ninja, I think Ryu Hayabusa. He jumps, he slashes, he throws sharp objects, he uses magic. He's the guy, and I know he's been in a ton of other games, and I know from hanging out with Hunter the other night that he definitely has something to say about Ryu. So
I have a question. I'm like a student. I just had one question. Does his father die?
He does and does not.
All right. My favorite father name for a ninja ever, Joe Hayabusa.
Yeah, right.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, let's just say you're led to believe he's dead.
Right. Okay. So, but
spoilers.
There was a point. Oh my goodness, this game is.
Yeah, for a 30-year-old.
If you didn't play this one yet, then it's on you.
Yeah, and if you haven't played this one, you should, because it's
Any-
something special. It's it's Nintendo hard, as they say, but really, you've got something really, really special there. For me, it's enough to push this character into the #1 slot.
Well, not even just the NES games, but the more modern character action game as well. The Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden 2.
If anyone can speak to those, I cannot. But
they're hard as balls, but super super good character action games. Some of there's just like a crap ton of moves that you can do in those games if you know what you're doing and you're good. He's doing the flying swallow attack where he's just flying across the screen, lopping off heads. You're doing Azuna drops where you're like upside down, like twisty, like cannonballing people into the ground, flipping, wall running, all sorts of different weapons and ninpo attacks and you name it. And Ryu's got it. I agree with you, Brad. I think he should be the #1 on the list.
I was surprised that it didn't end up. I kind of expected when we started this, he would end up #1. And I think it's entertaining to listen to the, over the hill section of this podcast talking about the kind of original Ninja Gaiden games. I'm curious if Zach has Ninja Gaiden experience and if it was with those or if it was with the newer ones, or if you played any.
I don't have any Ninja Gaiden experience, unfortunately. Well, it was slightly before my time, and I don't remember you playing that when I was a kid. So,
well, we didn't. Again, we had a Nintendo at home, and it was a Sega Master System and then a Genesis. So I didn't get to play those until a bit later. And when I would go over and play them when I go play with my friends, go over to their houses to spend the night and stuff, we would play a ton. But I didn't get to actually fully get myself immersed and also extremely angry and my ass kicked as much as probably other people my age. But I do think it's interesting that they were able to really, really successfully bring this one back, which actually kind of amusingly, I think, started with him becoming part of the Dead or Alive franchise as a playable character in Dead or Alive. So you have Ryu Hayabusa on one side, just kicking the crap out of some girl in a bikini with jiggly bits. It was like that. But the thing is, from what I understand, is that canon carried over from Dead or Alive into the newer games like the Ninja Gaiden Black and the other ones that came after that. But I think there's a whole generation of people younger than us. When you say Ninja Gaiden, their brains don't go to the NES. They go to, because I mean, as far as one of the Ninja Gaiden Black, I think it's considered one of the best, most challenging kind of action games ever made. So you can't leave it out.
Yeah.
There's more story to that one as well. So
yeah, for sure. All right, so Ryu Hayabusa, clearly one of the top runners here. Let's talk about the community voted #1 pick.
#1.
Stealth camouflage? Who are you?
Where is my friend?
What are you talking about? Oh, what next?
Snake.
Our #1 pick is Gray Fox from Metal Gear Solid.
I could have sworn it was going to be the Gingerbread Man.
Kind of jumping into the things with his Gray Fox
help
skin
it.
earlier in #3. But
you can't talk about Raiden and not Gray Fox. I mean, you have to. That was going to be inevitable. And if I didn't say something, people, I think it might have led them astray. Maybe it's not Gray Fox. He's already talking about it. But people aren't that dumb. They knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I thought this would end up number 2 or 3. I really thought Ryu Hayabusa.
Pretty much everybody had Gray Fox on their list.
Gray Fox was very... Yeah, he's just so cool. You know? He's just so cool. I mean, he freaking dodges some bullets, and then he, like, deflects machine gun fire from Metal Gear Rex. He's got stealth camo. I mean, and when he's not in stealth camo, he's got, I think... And it might have been something I brought up on the first time I ever was a guest on the OG GGD podcast. It was like a question about favorite ninja attire or something. I think that came up. And
favorite armor.
Favorite armor. It wasn't even ninja. And I said Gray Fox because, like, I mean, it's just such a cool design. And it wasn't even originally supposed to be in Metal Gear Solid. But once Kojima got a design for that, he was like, we gotta put this in, and then it became like one of the most important characters in the franchise and in video game history. So, and he appears in some of the earlier games too, like has like a pretty important role, but it's like pre Cyborg Ninja days. You know, he's in the original Metal Gear, he's in Metal Gear 2. He ends up in the cyborg suit specifically because in Metal Gear 2 he fights Snake and gets in hand-to-hand combat in a minefield. He gets his ass kicked by Snake and dies but doesn't die, and then God, this
spoilers.
Metal Gear 2. I'm sorry, we're gonna spoil these. I'm sorry. I don't people.
We're spoiling.
I'm just joking.
35-year-old MSX2
game. Hey, again, it will soon be available in the Metal Gear collection.
Well, it is
coming to a console near you.
When people think
game.
Yeah, it is.
You should play it. It's awesome.
When people think Gray Fox, though, I mean, obviously, I think their mind goes instantly to Metal Gear Solid. And but you have to understand the backstory for that to really, I think, have its full impact. Because, you know, after he gets beaten, CIA picks him up, and he goes through, like, his life. Even before that, his life is, again, like Raiden's child soldier. He gets, like, dragged. Well, I think Big Boss takes him and puts him in, like, some rehab center. And then the CIA steals him away from the rehab center. And then he gets put through, like, basically, he gets, like, Winter Soldier is what happens. Like, he gets just, like, tortured into, like, submission to where he's essentially just he has no memory and it's just like a machine fighting. And then when Snake beats him, like, he actually feels something again. And then he gets Wolverine after that because he gets, like, you know, stuck onto this cyborg ninja suit. And then you end up running into him in Metal Gear Solid because the whole thing he wants is essentially to encounter Snake again because he just wants to feel, he like wants to like hurt me daddy from Snake in that game. You know? So, yeah, it's just so cool. With that hallway scene, it's just classic. Like coming down the hallway and he's just slaughtered everybody and he's invisible. It's just like a dude.
Super eerie and creepy.
Super cool, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Gray Fox is one of the coolest video game characters that you'll ever have to read about. Because it's like most of his backstory is all in like logs and things, and you know. So, but super cool character. Just, you know, or like, you know, worthy of being near the top of this list, if not the top of this list.
I'm happy he's at the top. It was my pick for the top. I love Gray Fox so much. He's such a cool. Again, I mean, it's not like a traditional ninja like we talked about with the other ones, but just in terms of cool video game ninjas, he's got some huge moments.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude for sure. All right, so let's recap this list really quick. Number 10, Rikimaru from Tenchu. Number 9, Batman. Number 8, Shadow, Final Fantasy VI. Number 7, Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima. Number 6, Sub-Zero, Mortal Kombat. Number 5, Wolf from Sekiro. Number 4, Sheik from Legend of Zelda series, Smash Brothers. Number 3, Raiden from Metal Gear Solid and Rising. Number 2, Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. And number 1, Gray Fox from Metal Gear Solid. That is a solid list of ninjas, folks.
Yeah, well done,
Congratulations.
KJ. Seriously,
Thank
that's
you, the community, very much for your participation. I think we were all blown away by the amount of ninjas that came and just like the interest that was generated by the topic. Like for a first episode of a podcast, we were really surprised and very pleased with that. So thank you, everyone, for your participation. We had a lot of fun with this list. Yeah, looking forward to the next one, which is...
The next one is, Hunter, what's the next one?
We're going to do bromances.
All right. I can't wait to dig into this.
Yeah, and just like with the ninja one, we are not going to... If you think it's a bromance, then we're counting it as a bromance, and people can vote on it, and maybe we'll get surprised and get some bromances in here we're not expecting. But there's some really, really awesome bromances out there. I'm really kind of curious to see what people come up with for that one.
Absolutely. So look for that on the Discord. We'll be posting that up soon, and you can list your bromances and get your votes in. All right, so moving on to our next segment, Indies Nuts. This is the segment where one of us on the panel will pick a indie game every month that we think looks interesting, that we would like to talk about on the show. We all play through it together, and we have a mini game club discussion and share our thoughts on the game. So I went number 1 this time and suggested Evil Tonight, which is a sort of retro-style Super Nintendo-ish Resident Evil game. Think like if Resident Evil was kind of like Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo, and you're kind of running through like an old, like spooky haunted like school, and you have to do a little bit of inventory management, and you have to figure out, okay, where you pick up an item, where do I need to use this item to progress in the story. This game was released in 2001. It's available on Steam and Switch. It was developed in Game Maker Studio 2 and developed by DYI Games. If you'd like to check it out, it's MSRP of $14.99. So what did you guys think of Evil Tonight? I think we have some maybe dissenting opinions. So
first of all,
I'd love to hear.
Spoiler alert. I mean, just in these Indies Nuts segments, we're definitely going to be going full into the games if you want to play it and come back to it. But we are definitely going to not hold back on any of our thoughts or spoilers on it. So just a fair warning.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out.
Yeah. Good distinction there. Thanks.
Okay, so like teeing this up really quickly, you play as a kind of like a supernatural investigator, or kind of like
medium.
It's like a medium named Sylvia. The game apparently takes place in Italy, because
Florence.
Everybody's in Florence, Italy. Thank you for specifying. All the characters are Italian. They have Italian names, which is kind of an interesting setting. There's no real rhyme or reason why that is.
I think they wanted a theater, a place where there was a lot of, where you might actually find this level of like a like theater setting where there might, it's an old city, so it kind of lends itself to horror. They filmed Cannibal was filmed in Florence for the same kind of reason. It's a very romantic, dramatic city. I actually really love the kind of pan down early in the game when you can see the city in the background. It's like kind of a pixel art, like Duomo back there and some other things. So
yeah, have any of you guys ever actually been to Florence?
I have been to Florence. Yeah, it's a beautiful city. My favorite place in any Assassin's Creed game too. Very well recreated in that game.
I'm with you there. I have also been to Florence, and it's I've been to quite a few places in Italy, and I can easily say it's my favorite city in Italy. It's beautiful. You can walk everywhere. Anyway, enough plugging Florence.
Go to Florence.
So this game controls kind of like if you've ever played Secret of Mana, it plays like that. You're walking a really nice looking pixelated sprite of the character around. One of the things I really appreciate, I guess, about the game is the sprite work. It's the first thing, I guess, that sort of made the game stand out to me when I saw a trailer that made me kind of want to check it out and made me interested in the game, because it's a pretty darn nice looking game if you like 16-bit style pixel art.
The sprite work's awesome.
Yeah, the art style overall was I think one of the real high points. Like, it's got a really cool aesthetic, and I really like the art style a lot.
Yeah, the game is also like really campy in a lot of ways. I wouldn't necessarily call it scary. It does have some jump scares where it tries to like characters like bust through the wall, enemies and whatnot. But the character is straight out of an 80s anime. She is ultra cheap. She's basically Bulma from Dragon Ball Z. If Bulma wasn't like a giant chicken, she's like, oh, I'm such a babe.
Yeah.
Like, look at my hot bod.
It's so hard. My body is hotter than your body. Like, it's so weird in the middle of all of what's going on for them to just be like, we almost died, but look at how good my eyes look.
The other characters in the game are all like, I don't know, like elementary school level children, and she's bragging to them about how good she looks, and it's very silly.
It's very silly for sure.
Yeah, so you're making your way through this mansion. You're hired to go investigate and clear this school. I guess it's not a mansion; it's a school that's suffering from this curse. You don't really know who hired you, but you go in and kind of get teleported into this sort of like dark world version of this school that's infested with monsters and creepy ghouls and stuff like that. And you're armed with a trusty survival knife, which thankfully does not have durability. So you don't have to worry about the knife breaking in this game. And then you find various weapons. You start with a pistol, and then you can find other different weapons as you go throughout the game. Pick up like a crossbow, and a shotgun, and a machine gun.
Yeah, assault rifle.
Yeah, the weapons were kind of the upgrades, because there wasn't really anything in the way of like upgrading or like improving the knife, which I would have really liked, because I had to use the knife a lot at the end of the game, which we'll get to. But I wasn't a huge fan of the knife. And the scariest thing, you're talking about this game not really being scary. I thought there were some kind of creepy spots. I mean, there was like one place where there was like a doll hanging, and it really looked just like you like came across like somebody hanging. But there's all these like sets, because it's like they're doing theater, so they have props and stuff, and they're like, the props are everywhere, and the props just look like people sometimes. You're like, is that just a person in the corner over there? It's like, oh no, that's like a doll. It's like a prop.
Yeah, there's a lot of like life-size marionettes and stuff that they are utilizing for making clothes for their plays and shows that they're putting on. And all the room, there's like a sewing room and a craft room, and
I thought the scariest
corner bathroom with its head busted out in.
Yeah, creepy.
Just cause.
Good stuff. But to me, the scariest part was when there was an enemy at any diagonal. That's when I was like, oh shit, I can't do anything about that. I gotta. I mean, they can shoot at me at a diagonal, but we're stuck with the 4 cardinal directions. You're shooting up and left and right and down, and that's it.
So that brings me a question. Did you switch your aim to auto, or did you leave it on manual?
Mostly manual for me. There were some exceptions to that. But yeah, I found where I was like trying to aim at something, and it would just all of a sudden like I just like jerked in a different direction and then get hurt. So I did most of it in manual. How about y'all?
I kept mine in auto, actually.
I kept mine in auto as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think it was in manual the whole time. Whatever default was, I don't think I changed it.
You're on manual the whole time.
Yeah. I did auto at the very end, because again, I was just using the knife, and I just had one boss to fight, so in that way I didn't have to worry about accidentally aiming it in the wrong direction. That was, I think, the one time I really switched it. But yeah.
Brad, I know you have some thoughts on this game. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, so right out of the box, I think everyone's pretty much said it, like, immediately thought of Secret of Mana, like, so if you've got those vibes, like, you immediately score points with me, like right off the bat, you've got like kind of an in. The look and feel is excellent. The sound design is fantastic, and I found the gameplay to be pretty tight. The environment, the vibe, I like all of these things. Not a big survival horror game. In fact, I'm stretching to even think of one survival horror game I've played besides this one. Really, I'm not a Resident Evil player. I never have been. But I found myself enjoying this game right away, but then I found myself frustrated with this game. I got lost a lot. I spent a lot of time going like, where am I? What am I doing? Where am I supposed to be? I feel like this game could have benefited a lot from even just a tiny little mini map, or like some way for me to track where, like, kind of what rooms I've been in and whatnot. I think a lot of art was repeated. A lot of like areas are kind of samey to me. Not a lot of diversity there, which is kind of par for the course, I think, on these type of games. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with the genre, but I think it's all meant to be kind of, like a universal, just kind of creepy vibe there. Not a lot of differentiation.
I was actually impressed by the amount of differentiation between the environments that was put into the game and the details in each of the rooms. But
I didn't finish the game, so that could be a major reason why.
But completely to your point, my biggest qualm with the game is the lack of a map. This game needs a map, because I spent so much time running back and forth trying to figure out, like, you come across rooms and doors, right? And it'll be like, oh, this door has a symbol of a sword on it. This door has a symbol of a club on it. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, I know that, like, there's a sword door. I got this sword key, and I need to use the sword key, but I don't remember where the door was. So I'm just going to go back to the building that I've been in like 7 times already and try and remember where that room was. And if they had some sort of a map system just to, I guess, skirt the need for, like, there's a ton of backtracking in this game. I'm okay with backtracking, but I want to know where to backtrack to. Yeah. I don't want to have to guess where to backtrack to, and I go all around, and I can't find
all of your tracks before you find what you need. Like, I didn't have patience for that.
We just really needed, like, the straight up Resident Evil map where it gets filled in as you go. It tells you which doors had which logos on them. That would have been a big help. Because the same thing happened to me. You end up finding a new key, and you're like, oh, well, I don't remember which doors exactly worked for this key, so I gotta explore everywhere, and then lose all my health and use all my healing items, because there's new enemies every time you're running around.
The one silver lining to the whole key and lack of map thing was, at least when you had unlocked all the doors, it got rid of the key in your inventory, so you knew it was like, all right, I'm done with finding club doors and cup doors, and so you're like, all right, well, at least that I know I've explored these rooms. And it's almost just like something to store in the back of your mind, though, because it's not like you didn't go back into those rooms because you didn't know where the hell you were going sometimes. And for me, I had to go back into these rooms just out of the off chance that maybe I clicked on a plant and found like a healing item or some ammo, because there is from the very start, from what I could tell, just this is how much ammo is in the game, this is how much health's in the game, no more, no less. Like, if you find it, you find it. If you don't, you don't. And I had, amusingly, and I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit here, but amusingly, one boss at the exact end of the game, I think it was like maybe had like 5% health left, and I'm just swinging away at this thing with a knife, and have been for hours, because that's all I had. And I'm talking about at the very end, the boss dropped shotgun shells, and it was almost like a giant slap in the face to just be like, we could have done this the whole time. Like what boss? Like there were so many comparisons to you could make to Resident Evil. I mean, there's clearly a lot of inspiration there. But like, I don't know any Resident Evil bosses that I can remember that didn't at some point provide you with, some kind of ammo mid-fight. It's always like a thing. And these were just like, no, that you just weren't getting any of that from any enemies, from any bosses. And then right at the very end, I got shotgun shells. And I was like, why? Why did I just get them now? It was kind of amusing.
I didn't have that same problem with the lack of ammo, but I was really trying to use my weapons sparingly, I would say, and I was trying to skirt enemies as much as possible, as opposed to engaging, because you don't get anything from killing enemies. They don't drop ammo, they don't drop health items, so there's no real point to killing them if you can make yourselves
except for it's fun. Except for that part's fun.
Right, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I really enjoyed shooting the shotgun in this game.
It
had a really fun shotgun.
You play,
and I wish that I could do more of that.
What difficulty did you play on too? Because that was another gripe for me.
Yeah, I had heard going into this game that this game could be a little bit rough, and I don't have a lot of time on my schedule lately, so I just played it in casual mode. I fully admit it. I'm a casual.
No, I think that was the way to go. I wish I had done that.
Cast your judgment on me now.
Well, you can't switch mid-game, because I think I just took for granted that like I would be able to either handle it or switch it or something, and you can't. Like you'd have to go like all the way back to the start to do the easy mode. And I contemplated it because I was like, that might be quicker than me continuing to try and just search for ammo and stuff. Because I did actually have to reload a save from like an hour before, because I had just found myself in a boss situation where I had like I was getting one shot and having to redo it, and it sends you back to the main menu. So it was like you have to like reload the save, go back to the boss, get like one shot at the end, and then repeat.
On the normal mode, do the save points heal you?
No,
they don't. Okay, so on casual mode or easy mode, you just step in a save point and it like heals you. So
no, you get nothing. You reload the save and it started me off with the same minuscule amount every time, and that's just on the normal mode. It's not like I put it on hard mode. I wasn't trying to do all that, but you got nothing. And so I had to reload a save from like an hour and a half before, just so that I could go back through it, make sure I didn't use too much ammo, make sure I didn't use my healing items, so that when I got to that boss, I would have at least something. And I had to do that twice in this game. I think it probably ended up costing me at least 3 to 4 hours just of replaying the game to get just back to where I could actually compete in it, and that's a problem. So
I had the same issue with that final boss. I had to backtrack. Well, I had to go back to one of my older saves, mainly because I just used too much ammo. But like, just as far as the health goes on the normal mode, when it came to, I think, the 4th boss, I had used up all of my health like items. I had no way to heal, and I had maybe a 1/10 of a bar of health, and I had to figure out how to beat that boss with a 1/10 of a bar of health. And I was finally like, you know what, let me just go see if I can find anything. Maybe I missed something. And that's when I figured out that all the plants had stuff in them. And so I went and looked at every single plant.
Yeah, it feels ridiculous.
There are 2 plants in that entire building that have health items. And that's it. So I spent like probably a good hour to hour and a half just going to check every single plant. And that was rough. I loved the gameplay otherwise, but just some quality of life things there probably needed to be.
It sounds like we all kind of had the experience Brad did in a way, where I think when, like, I can relate, where when I started it out, I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. This feels great. Like, this looks great. It feels like it's gonna be a fun experience. And then somewhere along the line, like, it just got frustrating for like not great reasons. So.
Yeah, can I just quickly read? We had one community member who played along with us. So thank you, Sassafrasis, for playing along with us. Sassafrasis dropped some thoughts. I'd like to read those really quickly, and then he's got a couple questions for us about the game as well. So, Sassafrasis says, I really enjoyed the game. I would describe it as a cross between Resident Evil 1 and Secret of Mana, almost a perfect clash of the two. It felt and played like Resident Evil, but looked and acted like Secret of Mana. A solid survival horror experience with a fair difficulty and puzzles that give you the right amount of information, while still making you scratch your head here and there. A various handful of unique enemies, incredibly cheesy dialogue with a decent story, but I really like the aesthetic and the spunk of the protagonist. Along with the survival horror came the classic soft lock that almost ended my run about 4/5 of the way through. Going into the piano boss fight with a sliver of health and no healing items, and not finding any until right before the final boss in the game. So very similar to our experiences here. Overall,
yes.
Overall, I would rate it a 5 out of 5. An awesome indie title. My main critique is that it was short, about 3 to 4 hours, depending.
Right.
So
Seems
it sounds
like it
like
was designed
Sassafrasis had a very similar experience in this game that
he was able to
most of you
overlook
guys
it better
did,
than us,
so.
though. He's got a better outlook on.
Yeah, 5 out of 5.
That's high
a perfect
praise.
score.
So Sassafrasis wants to know, do you find the dodge mechanic useful?
I accidentally used it once, about 3/4 of the game, and I was like, I can dodge? I honestly, I did, and then I tried to do it a couple of times, and I was like, I'm never using this. I found it like a complete waste of time.
It had some sections that it was useful and was kind of like a required movement skill to get out of certain situations with certain enemies. A lot of your boss fights, though, it ended up being much better to just run because it didn't use your stamina. So useful sometimes and not all the time.
I similarly to Hunter didn't realize I could do it until well into the game. At that point, I didn't feel the need to use it, and so I really didn't use it.
Yeah, I had a couple of things like that where I actually like accidentally did something, and I was like, I could have been doing that. That's so funny to me. Well, I didn't know I could skip cutscenes. I don't think they ever told you that.
Yeah, I figured that out on accident.
Yeah,
I was so happy.
It's like it's like whatever like the select button would be. I would like press it by accident. I was like, oh my god, I skipped. I've watched that like 70 times now, and I could have just been skipping it. Oh man!
I'll tell you, I used it quite a bit because it's faster than walking when retracing my steps trying to find what I missed, and so
right.
I used it more as a run button than anything, trying to like figure out where the hell I'm going in this game. I was completely lost the whole damn time.
So let's bring one critique, which is I just wish the like standard movement speed was slightly faster.
And you could aim in any direction.
Yeah,
I think that would
take or leave that. I kind of enjoyed the change.
I guess they were trying to like find a way with like that kind of top-down like pixel art style to recreate Resident Evil 1 like tank control feel or something. Because I remember getting frustrated at that too, but this it didn't feel great to me. Can I say a couple of nice things about it, like just real quick? Because there are some things I like. I don't want it to seem like this game was completely unenjoyable, but I did like some of the nods to Resident Evil, and the music was excellent. And holy hell, there were mimics, which is hilarious. The mimics were so funny.
Maybe too many.
A lot of mimics, yeah. Well, maybe one too many. There was like probably more mimics than there were chests, because we could have used some items in those chests. And I thought the overall like story, even though the dialogue was not to my taste, I thought the story itself was kind of enjoyable. Like it had a nice kind of thing going on there with the ghost story in the diary pages and kind of discovering what happened. The diary was cool.
Yeah. I like the character portraits. I like that how they were like super throwback 80s anime style. That was really fun too. Sassafrasis has one more question for us. He or she wants to know favorite puzzle of the game and which one gave you the most trouble.
Okay, I'll start this one off. The one that gave me the most trouble, and it was for a stupid reason, was the putting the letters into the box one. Because I tried every combination there, and I thought I tried all the ones that was in the
like on the TV,
the library, the diary that we were keeping, or the notebook. And I was like, none of these work. So then I started pulling out a piece of paper and writing down every single combination that it could possibly be.
Oh my god!
And,
wait, which
and then I was like,
this?
you know what? Let me just go. I was like, I got like halfway through that, and I was like, can I go try these again? I went and tried the 4 that were there, and one of them worked. And I was like, I feel stupid.
Maybe you thought the V looked like a U because it did.
Don't remember. It's just, it was annoying.
You want to know something that annoyed me about that puzzle?
Please.
And I'm going to list this one as my hardest puzzle for this exact stupid reason. And I'm going to preface this by saying one of the things I love about replaying Resident Evil games, so I think the Resident Evil 2 remake is one of my favorite, is if you know the combination to a lock, you don't have to find the book that tells you what it is. You just go put that shit in. The combination is what it is, you know? This game, so one of the times that I had to reload a save from like an hour and a half before, I actually had that puzzle in the middle of that. So when I went in that room, I was like, oh, I got the combination here. I'll just go ahead and open it up. Nope. Put in the combination, wouldn't open. So I had to go back to the TV, like get the videotape, go to the TV, look at the thing, then go back. And as soon as I clicked on it, it actually saved the combination that I had already put in there before. And as soon as I like even clicked on the box, it opened. I didn't even have to move anything.
It won't let you do any kind of sequence breaking or anything.
No, it wasn't. It was just locked behind that TV. You had to look at the TV, and then the box magically would open.
I actually looked this up because I was interested in this. For all of the puzzles, they are generated every time you start the game. They are always going to be random. They are never going to be the same ones over and over.
Interesting. That's interesting. It leads me to, I would say my favorite puzzle was the portrait one. That was my favorite. I thought that was really witty. Because I liked that it didn't give you really anything to go off of. You know, you put them up, they got like, you know, they got
the
like
dates,
the dates on there, but you don't
and...
have any notes or anything. I was like, I don't know what this is.
There's one clue, the statue that's there. It mentioned something about like
youth,
starting with the youngest or something.
Well, I thought that was cool because then when I like saw that, I was like, oh, okay, well maybe there's something to that. So then, but then when I went and like added up the dates, it was like they were all super close to each other. Was that, did y'all get generated?
28, 29, 30, 31, 32.
Mine were all within like a year or two of each other. Mine was in the 30s, so my people are older. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was a good puzzle. That was probably my favorite as well, because I actually had to like write it down and like do the math and figure it out and like
that's a good puzzle.
Between the years and everything, it was good. The one that gave me the most trouble was the one where you get the code from the calendar.
That was weird.
Where all the dates were circled. Because it doesn't make it clear what order that you're supposed to enter the dates into the mechanism to open it. So you find this calendar, it's got all these dates circled on it, and it's clear that you're supposed to enter the dates as a code into, I don't even remember what you enter it into, like a safe or something. But it doesn't tell you what order to enter the dates in that are circled, and so the actual answer is the order from left to right across the calendar, but there's no way to actually know that. So you have one up here and one down here, one up here and one over here. It was really confusing, and I had a really hard time actually sussing that one out.
I liked that one actually. I think because I immediately saw it and was like, it probably is that it's going to be from left to right, and I tried it and it worked, and so
I couldn't even figure out how to use. That would have been my number one most frustrating. Not because I didn't know that it went left to right. I couldn't even figure out how it was supposed to enter the information in. You know, like it wasn't very clear that you had to like put the number in and then hit the check. You know, I was just like punching in all the numbers and then hitting the check, and it would just do like one light, and I was like, what is this one light thing? So I had to actually figure out how to even punch the numbers in. It took me like 20 minutes just to figure that out.
My personal favorite was it was one of the first ones actually, and it was just the combinations from the different notes on the desk for the box. because at first I missed that one of them was darker than the others, and so I was like trying to put them all in. Then I was like, let me go back and look at this, and it's like, oh, there's one that's highlighted. I'm supposed to take one from each.
Very subtle.
I liked that one a lot.
Probably easier for people who have Switch OLEDs.
Yeah, maybe so.
I played on the Steam Deck.
So any final thoughts on this game before we close out Indy's nuts?
I would say worth playing, but play it on easy. Sounds like.
Do we want to all give an individual rating? That's what we usually do in GGD game clubs.
Sure. What are we doing it out of?
Out of 10. Yep. Connor, why don't we start with you?
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Counterclockwise. You're gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. It frustrated the hell out of me, and I spent 3 hours using a knife to kill the final boss.
Okay. Not even swimming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Brad, how about you?
I'm with Hunter. That's the number I had in my head. 5.5 if you want to count, which you should. The aesthetic of the game is beautiful. I appreciated the effort. It just wasn't mechanically a game for me.
Fair enough. How about you, Zach?
I'll go with a 6.5. I thought that the game was overall a lot of fun. I loved the pixel art style. The diary pages were really interesting to learn the story of kind of what was going on in the scenes. So I think this is a very fun game. It's worth the play, I think. If you are wanting to have more of a running and shooting style game, though, I'd say beat it on the casual or easy mode first, and then there is the commando mode that unlocks, which gives you ammo anytime you kill an enemy.
Oh,
so
really?
It's a little bit
I
more
didn't.
fun.
I didn't even see that.
That makes me so angry again. Angry all over. They had it built into the game, and they just didn't do it. Not even once.
For me, this game is swimming. This is like a 7.5. I probably had a much better time with it just because I played on casual, and so I didn't have to deal with a lot of the frustration that you guys did playing through it. Maybe interesting for some, maybe not so much for others. Big thank you again for Sassafrassus for joining us. We would love for anybody who's listening, if you want to join us for the Indie Game Club next month. Zach, can you tell us what game you are choosing for us to play through?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going a little bit of a different direction here with the next one. We're going to be playing a game called Heaven's Vault. The idea behind it is that you are an archaeologist who is searching around a nebula to try and find information about one of your colleagues, and at the same time, you are going to be deciphering an ancient language to learn the story of something that happened in the past. This game seems to be really cool. All the ratings seem to be really good. One interesting thing, which I'm excited to talk about, is the fact that this is a non-linear game, so we may all play it in a completely different manner, and I'm really excited to see how everyone here plays it, and if you join us, what you saw, and maybe something different that you had from what we had.
That should make for a great discussion.
Is it anime?
Has anyone seen the trailer?
Okay.
I already
it's
looked
not.
into
It's
it.
not anime.
I need a break.
It is. So just also to let you know, this is available on all software or all hardware except for I think Xbox. It is not. You can play it on PC, PlayStation, or Switch.
Nice.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So it is time to get hyped with Hype Off. Okay, so Hype Off is our segment where each of us brings a game that is releasing in the next calendar month between now and the time that we're recording. And it's something that we are each individually hyped for, excited for. And then we're going to just explain why we're hyped. And then we're each going to go around the horn and we're going to give individual ratings for what we think like kind of the meta score for that game is going to be. And then we'll compile that next month, and whoever is closest to the actual meta scores for these games is the winner and gets the final last word at the end of the show next month. So, starting Hype Off, Hunter, what are you hyped for?
This is such a weird one for me because it's not the kind of thing that I would normally be really excited about, but it specifically is the theme of this game. It is WrestleQuest from MegaCast Studios, which is coming out on August 8th for basically, I think everything, right?
Looks like everything, yeah.
So it's on all the things. I when I first saw this game, I was like, oh, this is just so cool. It is basically like old school legendary WrestleMania turn-based JRPG with some action elements that has this just insanely awesome kind of like man, I don't even know what you would call it, like chibi, like pixel art. Like you can just tell there was so much attention paid to the way that they designed this game. It's almost like a Toy Story, like pixel art. WrestleMania.
All the characters look like little mini,
they're little
like toy wrestler guys.
They're like little bodies with like big heads. Like,
it
looks like so much fun.
And it's the people, if you're like me, like, you know, and you're into wrestling. I'm not as into wrestling now, but like, man, when I was a kid, like it's got all the people that I grew up with that like were just amazing. I mean, it's like Jake the Snake, Macho Man, Bret Hart, you know, Diamond Dallas Page. I think Sergeant Slaughter's even been out like promoting this game, and he's in it.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's great.
It's just got some really, I think, interesting for like I just can't believe they made a turn-based like JRPG wrestling game. It's got really interesting mechanics in it, you know, like you have like when you come in, like you have to like kind of hype up the crowd, you know, like if you get the crowd more hyped up, then I think that like improves your damage output or like abilities. And like there are times where like if you want to like lower like the your opponent's defenses, you actually just like get on the mic and start like throwing taunts at them, and that's what lowers their defenses. They're like summons in the game where like all of a sudden you can like summon like Andre the Giant to come out and like lift the whole ass like ring up. I mean,
that sounds great.
It's just.
Yeah, did you see where you have to like pin?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's got like a little mini game thing where it slides across and you have to get it perfect to pin them.
Yeah, so like even if you beat your opponent,
you
don't just beat them, like you have to then pin them, and if you don't, then like they might get some health back, and it just actually seems like it plays really well into it. You know, you have like weapons like steel chairs and like your party actually like tag team. So. But it is like a JRPG, like it's quests, like you're wandering around this kind of like miniaturized, like kind of wrestle universe, like running into other characters and fighting them, and you know, I don't know much else about it from that, but the style and everything, it just looks like it's gonna be so much fun. Like, even if you don't like wrestling, it looks like you would like this. So
the game definitely looks hype. And I am not big into wrestling, but I have checked out a few trailers and gameplay snippets and stuff, just trying to like figure out what is this thing. And I know that there's a lot of excitement around it.
Yeah.
And I think it looks pretty darn good.
Well, let's rate it.
Yeah, let's rate it. Okay, Hunter, you suggested the game. Give us your rating for WrestleQuest.
I'm trying to be realistic with it, because I know it's probably not going to be for everybody, but I think it's going to get an 82. And were you going to use Metacritic, or were you using?
We're going to use OpenCritic. We're going to use
OpenCritic
because that's typically what they use for.
Okay.
Perfect. Like for Fantasy Critic and stuff like that. So.
All right, that may be a little high, but I'm going to say it's an 82. It just
okay.
Looks
what do you think, Brad?
I'm notoriously bad at these things, but I'm even more hyped than Hunter. I think the number I have in my head is 86.
86. All right. What do you think, Zach?
This looks really good to me.
Well, Hunter just took the number that I had in my head. And of course, since he's my brother, I cannot actually do that number now.
You can do it.
No, I cannot. My sensibilities do not let me. Right. I'm going to go with an 81 on this one.
Okay. And I'm falling in between everybody. I'm coming in at 85. I think it's going to be very well received for sure.
It looks like it will be.
All right. I'm going to go next. And we're kind of going in order of the calendar release date here. So I am bringing Baldur's Gate 3 to the table from Larian Studios. This is releasing on August 3rd for PC. And then there's a delayed release for console on PlayStation 5 on September 6th. Anybody that doesn't know, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, old BioWare developed games. And Larian Studios did all the development on the Divinity Original Sin games. So this is very heavy D&D. They're going like as hard into D&D with this as you can go. I am not a D&D player, by the way. I have never played a game of D&D in my life. I know several of us on this podcast are D&D players and do enjoy D&D very much, but just the sheer level of choice that this game seems like it's going to be presenting to you in everything that you do is absolutely astounding. Like, no two games are ever going to be the same playing through this thing. And I know that this game has been in early access for like 3 years now with the first chapter, but it sounds like they've just like overhauled everything in the last 3 years since that first came out. And just the impressions that I've read and listened to on some of the previews have just been stellar, and I really am. It reminds me a little bit of The Witcher. So I'm a big fan of The Witcher 3. It's like my number 3 game of all time. I had zero interest in The Witcher until The Witcher 3 came out, and then for some reason, something about that game just kind of caught my attention, and then I was like just all in. Like I was reading the books, and just going as hard into that series as I could, and that's kind of the vibe I'm getting off Baldur's Gate 3. So like when I start this, I'm just going to be all in, and I think it's going to rate incredibly high.
Yes. I think it's going to be one of the best games that's going to come out this year.
Yeah.
This actually is going to be my way too early GOTY pick for the year. I think that there's so many good games coming out, but the sheer level of what you can do in this game is astounding, and it's going to have something for everybody. And even if you're not that much into the fighting, you can go and talk your way out of anything and everything. You can force your way and do like interrogations. I watched a video where someone had to roll a d20 to see if they could kick a squirrel, which they didn't kick the squirrel because they rolled a 12, and the squirrel exploded in blood.
It's
a D&D campaign, and it's what was it, like 200 hours of dialogue just in like the main story
170 line? I think is what they said officially, but yeah, it's craziness.
It's insane.
So the thing about it too is that, and I'm on board with this, and Zach and I are going to play this with some other friends of ours, Dan and Sal, and we went through Divinity Original Sin 2 together, like in completion, and that's what sells me on it, is that just saying this makes it sound like it's not believable, but this studio has already proved that they're capable of actually doing this and doing it extremely well. So yeah,
and they've taken the time.
Yeah, it's going to be.
They've taken the time to get this perfect. I mean, early access for 3 years. And how many hours does Dan have in the early access?
Yeah,
I think last he told me was like 300 something hours.
Like our guys.
Just in the early access.
Yeah, I think it's going to be real good. So let's rate it. I'm giving this game a 93. I'm going high. Hunter, what's your score?
I'm gonna give it a 90.
Okay. Brad, what do you think?
91.
91. Playing the old Price is Right game.
I told y'all, this is my GOTY for the year.
Exactly what I'm doing.
This is a 97.
Oh, man.
97. Oh,
I think you're right.
97.
This is one where I would definitely take the L and hope you're right. There's just so many people out there that may just tank it for no damn good reason. But anyway, we'll see. I think it's going to be good.
Next up to get hyped is Brad.
All right. So the game I'm bringing to hype off this month is called 30XX. It is by Battery Staple Studios. It's been out in early access for, I'd say, about a year now, but pardon me, it is officially coming off of early access next month on the 9th. It is a follow-up to 20XX, which is and as well as 30XX, are both roguelike Mega Man X type games. where I'll get a little deeper into it, but initially the concept was kind of an infinitely spawning Mega Man X game. So you can play it alone, you can play it co-op. I have been, for the last year, a friend of the show and the server, Sal, and I have been playing this game together, session by session. Every time it updates out, we come and check it out. We haven't for some time. We kind of fell off of that, but this game isn't without its glitches in early access. 20XX, I think, worked a little bit better after it released. But it's a ton of fun. There's several different characters. So there's like an X-type character with an arm cannon. You've got a Zero-type character that's a little more close up with a sword, kind of a lightsaber situation there. Double jumping, fucking air dashing. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It looks good. It suffers from the kind of roguelike situation where levels start to become generic. In an update to 30XX about 6 months ago, they added modes where it's just like they basically just lock it all down, where it doesn't have to be a roguelike. You can play it almost like a randomly generated Mega Man X game.
That's
and
cool.
You can do it co-op and you can do it solo. So they gave you the option of not having that roguelike element, even though I love it. There's really neat permanent upgrades like you have in a roguelike game, or you can start all the way. There's modes where if you die, you lose everything and you start from scratch, so you can kind of tailor the experience to what you like. Like I said, we've been having fun with it, not without its connection issues or bugs. I'd say in early access, I'm giving this game like a 7.0, and I'm gonna go like 76 or so on full release on Faith. I don't know how many reviews this game is gonna get. It's an indie game. It's pretty niche, but I'd say I'm throwing it out the 76 number. That's my guess.
Okay, cool. Zach, what do you think?
I'll go with a 78 on this. I think Mega Man games are very popular. Roguelike has been a big driving force for the past 5 to 6 years. The original game, I never got to play it, but I was always interested in it. It's been on my wish list for a while. I'm probably going to end up picking up 30XX just because I really, really am excited about the gameplay style.
I want to play with you.
Okay, absolutely. But yeah, I think a 78 is about right where this is going to hit.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're right.
I'm going with a 75 on this one. I think this is going to be a really good game, and I think the people that love it are going to love it a lot. But kind of like you said, Brad, I don't think it's going to get a lot of attention this month. There's a lot of stuff coming out, and 20XX in and of itself wasn't widely reviewed, and it didn't garner a lot of attention. So I think it's probably going to be a quality game, but I think it's probably going to score in the 75 range.
Mm-hmm.
I will go with a 69 because I'm immature.
Nice.
And I also, if I hear the word connection issues, I know if even a couple of people have problems with that, then they might score that unfavorably, and so maybe just a little lower than what y'all are putting at. So, and also 69.
Cool. All right. Last but not least, Zach, what are you bringing to the table?
Well, I'm bringing a game that I think a lot of people are excited for. I feel like it's been kind of a quick turnaround since we got our first real announcement of this game. At least it feels that way. I am talking about Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. This game looks incredible. I remember playing tons of mech games when I was a kid. Armored Core, I really loved Zone of the Enders. So I haven't played a mech game in forever, and Fires of Rubicon ticks all the boxes. You get to customize your mech pretty much however you want to do it. You're fighting against other mechs with boosters of rockets and laser guns and giant rail guns and stuff. And if it could be even better, this is a From Software game. So you know that you're going to get your ass handed to you over and over again, but you're going to love every second of it because you see all those strides you make every time. And they put out a trailer recently where they showed that you going across a level and you have this big structure in the back, and when you finally come across it and you realize that's the big boss for the area, this game is going to be phenomenal. I think that this is something everyone should get a play on. And I think that this is going to rank really highly. I'm going to put this up there with an 89.
Okay. I'm putting this game at an 88, actually.
My number.
Oh, I did? Well, you can still use that number, Brad. It's okay. I think that this game is going to be very well received critically. I think that some people are still going to go into it expecting like more of a Souls-like experience, which it's clearly not. And I still think it's going to be rated very highly, but I don't think it's going to come out quite as high as people expect it to with, the other FromSoft Souls-likes. So 88 for me. Hunter, how about you?
I was basically having a very similar thought. I just was actually thinking it might go just a little lower. I don't think that it's FromSoft, so it's going to be good, but I don't think this is necessarily like what probably their A team has been working on, and the fact that it is going to be, I think, even for people who are reviewing it, a departure from what they might expect a FromSoft game to be. And so I'm going to put it at an 84.
84. Okay, Brad, are you going to stick with the 88, or are you going to...
Yeah, that's the number I've had since I started kind of digging into it. I think, just like Zach said, this is a FromSoft game. It will be well made. Without question. I don't know that FromSoft, again, I'm a FromSoft noob. Fans of the Brothers Pierce on YouTube know that Bloodborne was my first Souls game. I've recently kind of got addicted to the series, but don't really know the genre, I should say, and the company, the developer, and I know it's going to be quality, but I'm not entirely sure if their core audience, this is what they're going to be looking for. And that being said, watching the trailers today, I think I'm a lock for this. I think I'm going to play this game, and I think it's going to get an 88. That's what I think.
Yeah, S-tier explosions in this game.
All right, lock it
really
in.
I did forget to state the release date.
I haven't played a mech game since Mech Warrior.
Oh man, Mech Warrior! I forgot that's a great
right.
one.
So I'm stoked.
I did forget to say the release date on this one. It will be coming out on August 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, shout out Sea of Stars, also releasing next month. We were kind of going back and forth about whether to talk about that in the show, but we didn't think it was going to be out before we actually recorded. So
I was thinking about picking it up next month. Actually, is that not?
I think
it's coming 29th. It's coming out at the end of the month, so we'll have probably recorded by then. So anyway, that's going to be a solid game coming out too.
Got it. Yeah.
If you like retro style pixel art JRPGs,
and if you love another very lovable ninja, good old Messenger, because it's a prequel.
Yeah. Oh man, Messenger's so good. Check out Messenger.
Nobody voted for the Messenger. Not a single vote. Not even you.
I voted for the Messenger, I thought.
Nope.
There was some Messenger votes. Are you sure about that?
All right, maybe I'll go back and look. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Are we casting doubt on the list validity now?
No, I might have just.
The Messenger actually came in at number 9. Hi, Batman. No.
I'll go back and look. Maybe you did get a vote.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks, guys, for getting hyped with me. That brings us to the end of the show. We did it. End of episode 1.
Long-winded. But I hope y'all enjoyed it.
Long, but a good time was had. For sure. So you guys have anything that you want to plug or mention before we wrap things up?
We are, excited to be doing this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully the community realizes that they are really important in, making this what it was this time, which is, not us like just stating our opinions, but really everybody getting like a say in, what the content of this show is going to be. So again, thank you to everybody, and I hope we get the same. I mean, bromances to me is such a fun category, so I hope we get
get your bromances.
Get some bromances in.
Get them in there
for sure. Zach and Brad, anything else?
I also just want to thank the community. Really, the turnout for this was phenomenal.
So cool.
Yeah, please continue to do it. It helps us make a great show, and it was really great to see a lot of the discussion and kind of fun times that we were having in the chat. Just like even slightly debating or just talking about who or what is a ninja. So please keep giving us your ideas, and really thank you so much.
Yeah. I think I mirror right along with the other two fellas here. Very thankful for the participation. I love this community so much. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not part of the Game Debate Discord, it's not just arguing about ninjas. Like if you watch Hunter's got a YouTube channel, I've got a Twitch channel. Like we're frequently there, we're playing games, where there was Bradborn, we're doing Persona 4 on there. People join us in the middle of these shows. It's so much fun. We do movies on Saturdays. Hop in, come in, join the community, come and say hello. Like there's so much going on, and it's just something I'm very proud to be a part of, and I'm very proud of this show, and I'm really thankful to be doing something creative again with some of my absolute best friends in the world. So thank you, all three of you, and thanks to the whole community. Some of us really appreciate that, so thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you guys. If you like the show, please make sure to like and subscribe to us, either on your favorite podcast service or on YouTube. We'd really appreciate that. And make sure to share us with a friend. That would mean a lot to us. We also welcome reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as the other gentleman already mentioned, please join us in the Great Game Debate Discord. We have a lot of fun over there chatting about games and movies and anime and books. And hanging out in the chat channels, and you name it, but we have a good time over there. It's a very welcoming community, very kind and very non-toxic. So come check us out there.
Please join us.
Also remember to check out the Great Game Debate Podcast for some awesome debates, game pitches, and more. They have a great show over there as well. And lastly, we want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon shout-out tier members, Pucho and Dan Giesland. Thank you guys for supporting the Great Game Debate. We really appreciate you. If you'd like to support the show monetarily, you can do that over at patreon.com and just look for the Great Game Debate. So we would really appreciate that. With that said, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you come back and listen to episode 2 when we talk about bromances. Until then, thanks and happy gaming.
See you next month.
Thank y'all.
Bye.